what from your perspective, do you remember what happened?
I just tucked the front, so you would never in a million years think you're going to crash there. And I was doing 230, 228 k an hour or something ridiculous. But like as soon as I crashed that bike, I was like,
Fuck.
I'm going to die.
Jett, when he rides, his posture never changes.
The other thing is too, because he's the man at the moment, it's like, okay, we need to have straight back. It's like I'm not saying he does have a really good style, and maybe that is the way he should ride a bike. But 10 years ago, there have been things that Carmichael done, and before that, and before and after that, we would have thought, oh, that's how you got to do that.
I met a gypsy.
Today, before we get into this episode, I want to bring you a message from today's podcast sponsor, Athletic Greens. Athletic Greens is not only an all-in-one formula that helps me just cover all my nutritional bases, it's also the first healthy habit that I have that starts every single day. It sets the tone for a healthy day and just keeps my eyes laser focused on Glen Helen at the end of the year. Definitely notice improvements to my skin and massive improvements to my overall gut health. AG1 is packed with 75 vitamins, minerals, and whole food sourced ingredients of the highest quality that are able to offer gut health support, mood support, can affect your energy each day, and contribute to overall healthier looking hair and skin. Go to athleticgreens.com/gypsytales if you want to get that free year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs added to your first order. Thanks so much to the guys and girls at Athletic Greens. We're excited to have you on board.
Yeah, that's the stuff I got.
Straight from Japan. So what, you got some coming?
Yeah, I think Lee Hogan's renting us some stuff. I don't know who's supposed to rent it to me, but anyway, Dion just messaged me that day I seen you actually with the photo. I'm like, ooh.
Nice. Yeah, I'm like skitzing. Are we recording? Yeah, I'm skitzing to get it in. So I got it from Japan, and I've had it here for like, I got it like 2 Saturdays ago, and then I've got to like we've got to make some content and stuff with it. Yeah. So I've got to get all photos and everything before I put it in my bike, because then it'll get dirty and like ruin it. And I got some extra triple clamps coming for it.
That's the next on my shopping list.
Yeah. Do you need clamps?
I don't need anything, but that's what I really want. Yeah.
Because Troy Herfoss is on the podcast, everybody. Is that your Honda, or like they just give it to you, like you can put parts and stuff on it, or what's the deal with it? Yeah, so
I'm Honda Australia. Yeah, I've been for 10 years, and they send me a bike each year, and most of the time I don't use it much, but I've been bitten by a bug. I'm all in at the moment. So this is my second one for the year now, and it's a bit of a grey area. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do with it.
Yeah, triple clamps are sweet though. You can put them on and off pretty easy.
Yeah, I've been just buying a few. I mean, MX Store's 2K from home, and it's like Wonderland for a motocross rider. Yeah. So every other day I'm down there buying something I don't need. Yeah. Foot pegs and the triple clamps goes in that next bracket where I got to.
It's like a little bit more of a serious commitment.
Yeah, the finance has got to be approved by the better half. And so triple clamps, clutch, all that kind of stuff. I said when I started doing the motocross stuff to Emily, my wife, I'm like, I just get stuff I need. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, and me too, bro.
Exhaust
me too.
Now it's just getting out of hand. But now Dion, my boss, he's an all-in sort of guy, all or nothing sort of guy. And I was talking about motocross a bit, and he was just playing off, whatever. Yeah. Sure he will.
Has he seen you ride?
No, he hasn't seen me ride yet. And he just sort of rings me and asks me how I'm going, and then it was a message the other night. So are you keen? Like, you're talking about this motocross thing. Are you going to do it or what? And I said, look, I really want to tick the box before I finish racing. Yeah. And he said, righto, well, we're not doing it in halves then. And then a few days later, I get this suspension, a photo of this Showa Aked suspension. I'm like, I kind of want to just go there in my van, camp, get my bus kicked, enjoy the experience, get on the start grid, and then when we start bolting that kind of stuff in, and
the expectations start to like creep up a little bit, and then there's like pressure and all that sort of shit starts coming into play.
Yeah.
But you're probably not going to be able to go to it. So Troy's talking about racing a national at QMP. Is QMP the round you reckon you do?
Yeah, that's what I do.
When is it?
August 13th. So it just like the gods have allowed it to happen. Like we race our 5th round in July, I think it is, at Morgan Park.
Yeah.
And then it's like a huge break.
Yeah.
In the past, I've gone to the 8 hour, say, in Japan and done a bit of riding. But there's always a big break, so we don't ride again until like October.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to do it, I'm 36 years old. I've been wanting to do a motocross.
You're in your prime.
I'm in my prime.
Yeah.
But I've got not much time left, really.
Yeah.
So while I'm still full-time and able to ride a lot, I feel like I should go and tick the box. And at the moment, it's helping the road racing a lot. So that's the way I'm selling it to people who care to ask.
Yeah. Do you find, how do you find the front end on the Honda?
So for me, it's been 7 years since I rode motocross properly.
So you probably don't have too much of like a gauge to go off.
No, I've got my 2011 Suzuki was my RMZ 450. That was a good bike. That had a good front end on it.
Still current?
Yeah, still current. Yeah. And then I had a 15 Honda, and I only raced a bit of dirt track on that. And then I've done the odd, like the Troy Barlas Classic dirt track event was on for a few years, but I'd always ride a friend's bike, and you haven't done a lot. But for me, the bike feels great. Send the suspension down to cruise tune, and didn't even ride the bike first time in 7 years. Suspension straight out. Have to get that done.
Yeah.
Don't know how I'm going to ride yet, but I'll make sure I've got good suspension. And,
apparently a 24mm offset clamps like really helps the Honda.
So that's what I've been Googling and reading, and that's what it's that, like I said, it's that next price bracket. Yeah. I can go down next door and drop, 50,
I'll see if I can get you like
bucks.
a good price on some X-Trigs, because I know Chad Talbot, he's the guy that does X-Trig in Oz. I feel like he'd probably do something for you. Yeah. Maybe we can get you on the program.
Yeah, well, I've had no experience with that kind of stuff because I've raced in Australian Superbike forever, and it's super basic rules. I've never changed a triple clamp in my life.
Yeah, right.
Links, all that kind of stuff's really standard. Yeah. So I've gone and I got a cruise tune link, and now I want the triple clamps just because I can change it.
You got to though, like, because that's what it is for me. Like, I love doing builds. Like you saw my 350 the other day. Like it's just got everything on it. But that's what I like doing. When I was a kid, I dreamed of that shit. I dreamed of having all the nice stuff and the sick bike, and my bike was just the biggest piece of shit.
Yeah, so you're from the country as well.
Cairns, yeah. So you just like, there was some kids had dope shit. Yeah. Like anodized wheels and all the carbon pipe. Like we just didn't have any of it. So now I'm just reliving. Yeah. I'm like living out my childhood dreams essentially. Yeah. I don't need any of the shit that I get.
Yeah. Well, when I first started racing, sort of like in teams and stuff, it was never motocross, always supermoto road racing. But I always had a motocross bike, and I had this mate in Goulburn, Matty Keller, his name was. He's probably 10, 12 years older than me. I was only 18, 19. I was riding a Husky, and it was always just standard. I'd mismatch gear, whatever I could get. The Paul Feeney would get me a helmet off such and such, and a set of boots off them. But Matty always had
the Schmick gear.
Pretty much whatever Chad Reed had, he had. He just had 28 in his bike instead of a 22. That was it. Yeah. And I used to always think, man, he's got the coolest shit. And now I'm probably the age. Well, I'm older than he was when he was riding with me, but I just feel like I'm doing that now. I just want to have the cool stuff. Yeah. I don't need any of that stuff, but because I'm in a position where I can have cool stuff, I just want to do it, go and ride and enjoy it.
100%. He who dies with the most toys wins.
That's right, yeah.
But, I mean, that's half the fun for me. I mean, it's like figuring out what works, what makes shit better, because it's all relative, right? Like, I mean, at one point I'm like going as fast as I can go, and then if you do something to make your bike a little bit better, you can go a little bit past. It's just finding it's just a game, like we do it for a hobby. Yeah,
100%. And when you've been in a position like we have, you've ridden a lot of different motorbikes in your time, and coming from where I've come from in the superbike, the smallest changes make the biggest differences. And I know that's, for us on motocross bikes, there's probably bigger gains to be had than I do having a superbike, but there is easy free time out there. Yeah. So, yeah, why not have it? Especially if I'm going to dive into an Australian Championship motocross race.
Yeah.
If anyone needs a bit of free speed, it's going to be the guy trying to get his knee down
Yeah,
in turn
yeah,
one.
yeah. Well, dude, you've ripped on a moto. So Matty, a couple of weeks ago, Matty was like, I think I was still in Dubai, and he's like, man, I rode with Troy Herfoss today. And I was like, really? How'd he go? And I'm like, he probably rides pretty good, because I rode with Casey probably like 12 months. It would have been 12 months ago now.
Yeah.
And like, he was ripping. And I was like, oh, okay, so I bet he rips. He goes, bro, he fucking smoked me. And Matt is actually fast. Like Matt's done nationals before.
Yeah, right.
And then you were at the QMP the other day, and you blew my doors off. And I was like, what who the fuck is that?
Yeah, I'm about, I think, 10 weeks straight, 2 days a week out on that same track. So
bit
of home track knowledge.
You're dialed in at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I actually think that by the time that national rolls around, especially if like the bike's getting dialed, I don't think your fitness is going to be a problem. But I say you actually could probably do pretty good.
Yeah, I hope. I don't know where I sit, but I love doing things to my best. You know, my dad always joked when I was a kid, don't be good at everything, be great at one thing.
Yeah.
But honestly, it's so much fun being able to dabble in different sports. So I just want to go and. You want to do stuff at a high level. Well, I do anyway. If I go and do it, I want to go and do it as good as I can.
Yeah.
And I've got a lot of respect for all them Australian motocross riders. And I'm not under the illusion that I could have been a motocross rider or I want to be a motocross rider. I just have respect for people that do things at a high level.
Yeah.
And if I've got an opportunity to do that, then I'm going to have a go. Whether I'm 10th, 20th, 30th, or don't qualify, I don't care. I'm just going to get out there in my van and rock up and just do it for a bit of fun, because I think this whole motocross thing's like it's brought back a lot of passion for me. Like
that's 100% the reason to do it.
Yeah, and I'm 36. I'm at that stage of your career where people start to either fall away or they just stop racing, and it's not a fitness thing or an age thing. It's a passion thing. And I've had a couple of years where I've been sort of not at my best, and I've been injured, and it's been, I wouldn't say all unenjoyable, but there's been a lot of times in the last 18 months.
Where you're just in the grind.
Yeah, I'm rocking up and everyone's wondering when I'm going to return to the speed I had. And it sucks a lot of fun out of it. When I rocked up at the motocross track, went out with my wife, Emily, had never seen me ride motocross. My 2-year-old's there. They didn't know or care how fast I was going. And when I was tired, I packed up and went home.
Yeah,
it was great. Yeah. And then, so now I'm sort of enjoying that. I actually want to be at the road race track more than I did. So I think it's reignited a bit of passion. So the risk to reward factor of riding motocross as training for a road racer, the reward is outweighing the risk at the moment.
Yeah. Well, it works for Millsy.
Yeah.
I mean, because I think that's one of the shit parts about being a road racer is that there's only so many track days that you can do. There's only so many, test sessions that you can do. Most of the time, you just, like, that's why so many guys are into cycling. Obviously, you're into cycling as well.
Yeah.
But, like the Polar Spargo, all those guys there, and Aleix, like, they're all crazy into road cycles, Binder, like, because what the fuck else are you going to do?
That's
like,
right.
you're just on the road, like, you can't cross-train in the same way like motocross guys. They just pound out moto after moto after moto.
Yeah.
So, it's a way of just, like, staying engaged, staying in it. Like, you would feel that max speed, like it's when you're hooking down a first straight and then you're like braking going into like the first turn at QMP, like the same feels are there. Like you're going too fast, you need to hit the brakes. Like you're just not getting that in other places. So to me it makes a lot of sense. You've just got to be cognizant of like the injury side, but at the end of the day you can fucking get hurt doing anything.
I've had a lot of bad crashes on my cycle bike too. And I think the motocross bike, it's like you're in control of being out of control. Like what, 50 times a day at QMP. Especially for you and I, maybe the top guys are a bit less, but then on the Superbike, it is that way, but you're not really out of control a lot because the track's always the same, the tyres are the same, and that isn't you don't have them variables like motocross.
It's more like incremental the way that you push, right?
Yeah, and it's super hard, but it's a different kind of thing. And I think the motocross bike, being out of your comfort zone a lot, it's just made it easier to go to the road race track and just get straight to speed. Yeah. Because I always joke about it. Imagine if, say, an Australian superbike rider, we race 7 or 8 rounds a year. there's not a lot. There's no private testing. There's a few track, maybe say 3 or 4 times a month at best. You'll ride a bike. Imagine if I say could just go and ride every day.
Yeah.
At Phillip Island on my superbike.
Yeah.
I would smoke everyone.
Yeah.
Because it's like a football player just not training and then go on and play the State of Origin. They last 2 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, they train every day. So I think, the more we can ride motorbikes, that's why you see these guys riding the Avali bikes, the small ones. And, like I'm sure Jack's riding a lot more than we know. It's probably on something of some sport. I'm not sure. You don't get to follow them guys that closely, but I'm sure they ride some kind of motorbike a fair bit.
He's just moto.
Yeah.
Moto's the shit out of it, and like they ride Avales a bunch. Like we went to when we were in Barcelona, literally a year ago. Actually, we were in Barcelona, and we did a day with like him and Binder and a couple of other dudes. We're on Avales, but mostly it's just like motorbike, like motocross, Avale, and then I think occasionally just like a normal road bike. But I don't even think KTM really has a bike for him to. To like, they don't really have a super bike, do they?
No, I'm sure it'd be like a 300 style, I think a 390 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so he's just full moto, loves it. But I'm sure a lot of those guys.
I'd love to see him. Imagine if he could do what I want to do. Like I know he would.
When Jack retires, me and my brother were saying this the other day. He's gonna be the biggest fucking bogan motocross racer in Australia. Like he's gonna do every MX National, Vet Nationals, every flat track. Like I think he just did a flat track on the weekend at home. Like there's actually not a dude I've ever met that likes riding more than him.
Yeah, I'm positive for that. I haven't met anyone that sort of just in his situation like, and he's happy just to park the ego and just go and have a race. Yeah. Like he does not care one bit. It's so good.
Well, that's like the Bend. Like he's going there knowing that he's pretty much not going to win, and he just doesn't give a fuck.
He's not even allowed to have the exact same motorbike as the other Ducati guys or whatever.
No data, nothing. He pretty much has to just ride a stock bike.
Yeah, I remember just in COVID playing COD with him and Hookie, and they're asking about tyres and there's no real planning and preparation.
Yeah,
just let's get all the stuff together we need, and we'll use that compound tyre will do. Yeah, I'll bring that one. Like. People probably think it's a fairly calculated manoeuvre he's making, but it's just rocking up and
just literally loves racing that much.
Yeah.
Just wants to go and have a crack.
Yeah. And you can see the whole motocross thing when he rolls out of pit lane. Like I was the first year I done it, like I was injured and that was the first time I got to race him. And half the reason I wanted to be there was like, I was going for a championship, but I was so injured I could barely even walk properly. But I was like, Jack's here. Yeah. There's a lot of good riders. It won't happen again. It'll happen once, and then something will go wrong, and they won't come back again.
Yeah.
But anyway, I remember rolling out of pit lane, and like I think he must have come past me on the straight the first time or whatever, and off the last turn, and just comes into turn one, and it is like full lock sideways, off the end of the straight. Lucky there's a bit of runoff, back on.
Yeah.
Didn't even look back to see if anyone was coming, just straight into it. Like, and that's where I think. Because he's riding motocross, probably come off a season as well. Just nothing phases them guys.
Yeah, no, he's not. I actually did a lap with him on the back.
Yeah.
At that, the first year that he did it, and like, bro, it was psycho. And that we went deep in turn one, same deal. Like barely pulled it up. I think he said we did 287. Yeah. Down the start straight.
You would have felt every kilometre of that too.
Oh man, I just let go at one point. I was just like, not physically, just like mentally
of life.
Yeah, I was just like, whatever. And he like looked back at me before we took off, and he goes, "I'm fully prepared to crash." We were the last. He was like, "You're gonna go last." Yeah. Everyone else from Ducati's like already had their turn.
Make sure he's up to speed.
Like, oh, bro, like man, you know that you got like that triple apex right hander.
Yeah.
One leg come off, and it's like legs hitting the ground, and the thing's like wobbling. It's on the back wheel the entire way up that next hill. I was just going, "This is a fucking lot, bro." Yeah, it's a lot. He just loves it, just down descend.
Yeah, it's a good part. It's a good place to be.
Did you race him again this year?
Yeah.
Were you there the first year, or was that the year you were hurt?
So I was there. So yeah, I got injured, and then COVID broke out again. Yeah. And I actually didn't miss a round. So I sat at home. I was fairly banged up, but yeah, I ended up trying to race. He raced that one. Yeah. And then last year I actually had my first win since the accident in race one at Tailem Bend. So
sick.
Yeah. got to beat Jack Miller.
Yeah. Dude, it's such a sick track, isn't it?
Oh, mate, unreal. Yeah. It's just like, it's like, what's it doing out there?
Yeah.
Like, it's full GP spec. Like, it's
unbelievable.
Crazy.
I mean, it's not that I've been to like that many other tracks in Australia. Like,
Yeah.
But Phillip Island, I rode a track day at Phillip Island, and then obviously did the lap at the Bend with Jack. But yeah, that's the same. Like, it's just a massive, fast, gnarly track. Like, it's pretty crazy that it's there.
Yeah, and I think that's got to be half the reason why they want to be out there, them guys. And it's becoming a bit of a thing now. I think like Jack started a bit of a thing. We'll all go to Australia and have a race in December, and there's just this awesome track literally in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's the best facility we've got in Australia. Sure.
And then, well, facility-wise, it's like better than Phillip Island.
Yeah.
Like the fact that it's got the hotels right there. It's got like the bar, the cool like kind of museum deal. Yeah. I mean, that's like a pretty premier facility.
Yeah, it's good.
So I wonder if he'll be able to do it this year because of the I don't think KTM, like, would KTM have a bike for him to race, you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, I remember KTM having a superbike years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess when they go practicing, they must ride some kind of superbike.
Yeah.
So maybe you can swing it. I guess that's up to you guys to helping him to try.
Lots more on Matty.
On Matty, yeah, that's right.
I do fuck all for that program.
Yeah. Well, it's up to him, I guess. I guess if Jack wants to do it enough, they'll help him.
Yeah, he'll find a way to do.
He could always ride knowing Jack, he'll just enter the 300 Supersport class in the KTM 390. They make a bike for that.
Could you imagine?
And then imagine them kids getting a race with him.
It'd be so sick. There's a bunch of cool talent coming out of Oz though.
Yeah.
Right now, like it's wild that the road race thing. There's so much more talent coming out of Australia than the motocross. But that in terms of like going international. But watching the MX Nationals, like me and Maddie watched Gilman the other night. Have you been following it and watching it?
Yeah.
It's really good. Like
it's great.
The coverage is awesome. Yeah. I wish we'd still go to better tracks. I think Gilman's a pretty good track.
Yeah.
But like, dude, the level in Australia, we were saying this, I reckon like Dean Ferris right now could get top 5 in the US. Tanny could get top 5 in the US. Webster could probably get top 5 as the US sits right now this weekend.
Oh yeah.
But you know, crazy high level, but it just doesn't seem like we have the exports coming out of Australia in the way that it seems like we've got some really good young dudes in road racing.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? It's hard to know why things happen certain ways. I think a lot of the guys that go from Australia, they take a fairly big risk at a young age.
Yeah.
But often it's through blatant talent they take that risk. But yeah, road racing it's a funny sport. It's a lot of money to go racing road bikes. So when you're a father of a talented kid, it's quite a big investment to sort of move on out of the country. But I think what we're seeing now in Australia is they've brought in a few little junior classes, like Australian Superbike have got like a Yamaha, I've got a little R15 Cup.
Yeah.
And then the Supersport 300 class has been going for a few years now. And it's it's cool. And, you know, you sign up with the Yamaha R15 Cup, say you get a leather suit and you got a cool bike. And like for me, I know at that age, like I loved road racing. I loved motocross. But motocross is just cool.
Yeah.
You're getting dirty.
Yeah.
The kit's cool.
Yeah.
You're replacing kit a bit more. Like, not many kids want to go and buy a leather suit. Like,
it's very true.
And I know, like, sounds silly, but when you're a kid riding a motorbike, you don't really know if you want to be a road racer or a motocross rider for sure.
Yeah.
And I think it's just it's accessible and it's cool to go do motocross. So I think what they're doing now in road racing, having the Junior Cup and the little Avalis that an old competitor of mine, Wayne Maxwell's been pushing that really hard.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Like, and so they're getting into the road racing when they're young and they're feeling like, oh, this is pretty cool. Because when I was younger, I didn't start road racing until I was 20, 21.
Fuck, that's wild to think now, eh?
Yeah, like I was doing some kind of professional racing, but yeah, like when I was 16, there wasn't really a development class, so it was there was a bit of a grey area there for sort of 10 or so years, and like at that age, you'd see the professionals, and then the guys that weren't pros were just sort of like 20, 25, 30-year-old men racing it. There wasn't really a young atmosphere, I guess, whereas the motocross track is just like, mate, there's guys, there's girls, you're a young guy, it's just like you're getting in your van, you're going, hanging out with your mates, and it's just cool all the time. So then I think that sucks a lot of the talent that direction for a road racer.
Me and Maddie we're talking about like MotoGP season and the riders and like anyway, we were just sort of saying like, well, it's just not as cool as Supercross, like motocross, Supercross. I mean, every single weekend I've got people from Formula One, MotoGP, World Downhill, like everyone's messaging me like, oh, the race and the like everyone's talking about Supercross or motocross. And it's like you've got all these people from all these different walks of life, and they're just like so zoned in on Supercross and motocross. And like I think you nailed it. Like it just seems like a way cooler sport. I never really thought about the fact that you can change your outfit pretty much every time you ride, but it's got to be something as well. Like we were joking in the car, like that they get dirty. Like road races, you get to the track, you can wear white shoes, wear a white hat. You know, motocross, that shit don't fly. You know, like you've got to have like a little bit of mongrel in you to like get dirty, eat roost all day, like just not give a fuck. You know. Yeah. And
it's a different world.
Completely different vibe, eh? Yeah. And it breeds like at the top level. You see like a different style of dude, you know?
Yeah. Honestly, like my first few days back on the motocross bike, I was like, you know what, there is whoever the front rowers are on Queensland and New South Wales, hitting up in the state of origin. And then there's motocross guys. They're the second toughest. Like it is just like, I was just out there getting dirt thrown at me by a random guy in a 250 or a 450. I'm like, oh, yeah, ouch. Like, and like, then to think about racing in 30, 40 guys, rocks and lines changing, like
they don't even mention it.
No,
like all of the gnarly shit. I was watching a thing, like a Haiden Deegan interview, and it was just like after the race, still had his jersey on, and like his neck down was just thrashed. There was just like blood and rocks and shit all over this kid. Yeah, and that doesn't even come into play. Like if the average person was getting sandblasted for 40 minutes, and you put a microphone in their face, it's the first thing they talk about. But man, fuck, I'm solo.
Yeah, like I always look at say hand guards. Like I've had hand guards in my virtual car every day. They're a little bruised, I'm crying about it. I've never seen anyone use them out at QMP. Nah. But then like you see an outdoor where they put hand guards on for the day. Could you imagine what that for them guys to be doing that or wearing an extra chest plate? Like we would just be curled up in a ball. Like I think Kyle Webster at Mayland, was it? It was like he got shot. He got a rock in his arm. Oh, you have to go to Instagram and have a look.
Yeah, find that.
It split him open, and honestly, it looks like someone shot him. Yeah. Like, and he didn't really mention that. Like, oh yeah, this had a rough weekend. Oh, got hit by a rock, and like it wasn't like it was. And that would have been Australian Superbike's main story. The road guys would have been like, I get a bit of rubber flicks off and hits me in the finger in the mid race, and it's give it a bit of a flick halfway in the straight.
And then it's like an article about it, like a photo.
We need the rules changed. It's too dangerous.
Yeah. Did you find it? Oh, there it is. Yeah, legit looks like he got shot. Yeah. Fuck. Kyle Webster's probably the hardest vegan I know.
It sure is, yeah. And I've tried that for a few months too. It's hard to be vegan.
Really?
Yeah, for a few years I was just every November, December I was all in to do Australian Road Cycling Nationals, which is January. Yeah. And mate, you've got to be that lean for that race. So every year, or just power to weight ratio really. Yeah. I mean, you got to be strong, but yeah, you don't need any upper body, or you need to be. The course in Australia, I should say, it's like 3,800 metres of climbing in 160k, 180k, and so you're just doing 5-minute repeats up a climb. So it's just all power to weight. Yeah. So every November, December, it was just like, what crash course diet can we go on to try and lean up this year? And yeah, one year I tried vegan, and I hung on to it for about 4 or 5 months, and then I think it was a blowout at Macca's one night after a few beers, and
you're just like, fuck it, I'm done.
Yeah.
I can't do this to myself anymore.
It was too hard. I don't know how he does it. So, because he's a strong guy. Like, he's a hard man.
Oh, Kyle, yeah.
So when the track gets rough and, sand, he's definitely a hard man. So there must be something in it.
Yeah. I've got one of my old coaches at jiu-jitsu. He's been a vegan for like 8 years. He was like vegan before it was cool, and he's like pretty jacked, like big sort of dude. And you know, I think after a while, like I think if you really do it consistently and do it properly. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely not for me. I've never even like considered it. Yeah. I like meat way too. I could do carnivore easier than I could do vegan. Yeah.
Well, it's funny, the day before we stumbled across, I think you know what it was. It was like, remember that was it a podcast or a Netflix story? It's called Game Changers.
Oh yeah, bro. I never even watched it. I refused to watch it.
It got me hook, line, and sinker. And so I think my father-in-law had bought this. What's the thing you put the steak in a steel bag and you boil it or something, or it's a few hour process, I think. But anyway, he cooked this steak. It basically fell apart on my plate. It was the best steak I've ever had.
Yeah.
I think we actually watched Game Changer that night.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's it. I can't be an athlete if I'm not a vegan.
Oh.
And that was it. And that was like around October, November.
It was like perfect timing. Like it was right there for the picking.
And then everyone, I was sort of embarrassed to tell people I was doing the vegan thing because it was clearly only because I watched that show.
Yeah, and you and like every other dude in the world.
So everyone I was just the laughing stock for a few months, and then it faded away, and I hung on to it for a while and promised everyone that I'd never go back, and then here I am eating a steak every night.
So how did it feel when you did it though?
To be honest, the first 6 or 8 weeks I felt really good.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what I could eat, so I was eating super healthy, like a lot of vegetables. But then you realise you can get a vegan Magnum or
Oreos.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden you're just not having anything you should be having. And
because it's
Macca's
vegan.
fries, maybe. I can't remember if that was one of the things.
Yeah,
maybe
probably.
that was a cheat from my end, but yeah, it wasn't. I'm sure it's obviously sustainable for if you do it the right way, but I was probably not dedicated enough to carry on with it. I think my wife actually cracked before me, and she she sits to a pretty strict diet when she's into it.
Yeah.
But she's just like, I guess she was cooking as well, so
yeah,
she's like, you know what? It takes a long time to cook dinner every night, trying to think of what we can eat.
Yeah.
So she bailed out, and then I was a few weeks after.
I think just for me, it was always in my head like the density of food, because I don't like to eat a lot.
Okay.
Like I'm not a big eater. So for me, I'm like, man, I'd be eating these my size portions, but if you compared the amount of just like, forget what kind of calories, but just calories in that meal versus calories with like steak, potato, like my normal kind of meal, you'd probably be getting half the amount of calories.
Yeah.
So to me, I was just like, and then you'd probably, to get the extra calories, you'd probably just start eating shit food.
Yeah.
But I just feel like for calorie density, like meat is where it's at.
You're right. I reckon that's what I enjoyed about it at the time, because when I'm doing the push bike event, like it's like 4 weeks of 30 hours of riding a week. Like I'm talking massive hours on the bike. Well, that's what I was doing. I probably didn't eat. I don't know. That's what I'd read somewhere on Google that pros are doing. But anyway, you just want to eat all the time because you're burning so many calories. So, and that's what I was finding, like massive big burritos that didn't have that much in them. Yeah. Essentially calorie wise, but you felt like you were getting a lot of food in. Yeah. But in day to day stuff, it's a lot of. You can eat a lot because. Yeah, it's not as dense, I guess. Yeah. I'm no expert. There's going to be people. I don't think anyone. Don't go to the vegan rabbit hole.
I don't think anyone listens to this is actually a vegan.
Yeah, I'll let Cole know. I had a chat about his.
But he's a savage. I think when you really do it for a long time and your body really adjusts to it, and I think if you'd say for the first 6 to 8 weeks you feel good, but I feel like there's probably. Whatever you're not getting from that diet is kind of in your body for a certain period of time. Yeah. And then it's like, so your body's like, whatever it's not getting from the food, it then starts to take from like what's left in your body. But then I reckon that's when, because you always hear people say that, I did it a few months, I felt awesome, and then I started feeling shit. Because your body's so complex in terms of like what it actually needs. That's why even just diets in general, like I was thinking about, you see those dudes on Instagram that are like, my morning routine, and they're like, I get up in the morning, first thing I do, I go for a 45-minute walk to expose myself to sunshine, and then no coffee for the first hour because of the adrenal system, this and this, and then I do red light therapy, and then I meditate, then I do a breathing, and I'm like, bro, it's fucking 2 o'clock, and you've like not even finished your morning routine. But like, I got up this morning, walked to the toilet, well, on the way to the toilet, pressed the coffee machine on, and sat on the toilet for like 10 minutes, looked through all my emails, don't forget, no fires to put out, got up, made a coffee, sat down, read a book in the dark. I'm like, I feel sweet. Like, do I really need to do a morning routine until 2 p.m? Yeah,
I'm the exact same, except for I need the coffee before I go to the toilet. catch up on the day's social media, and that's that. I usually get up early in the morning, kids are asleep, bit of alone time. But it's always a coffee. Like if I'm going training, it might be a couple of pieces of toast. And I reckon most of the guys that talk that big game, like,
it's so
they're lying to themselves.
Yeah. But like, bro, what you laid out to me is literally like, if you get up at 6, it's 9 before you've done anything, and my life ain't structured like that.
No, I just want to get on with the day, like it.
I always say to my missus too, she's like, man, you take the longest time in the toilet. I'm like, that's the only, for a male, that's the only time you've got. Is to just sit in the toilet with the door closed and like just have some alone time, because there's no other chance that you are getting that.
I reckon I judge motorcycle tracks based on their toilet facility, because I go to the track, I'm there with the team, like a bit of alone time. I'll clock on for the morning deposit, and then might sit there for 20 minutes till someone knocks on the door and needs to come in. Catch up on what's going on. Act like I'm busy.
No, I'm so with you. So you coffee snob? You said morning coffee.
What's
the program?
I just got a little Breville machine there, like a proper sort of coffee machine.
Is it all manual?
Yeah, all manual. So I just have like a 3/4 strong flat white for breakfast.
Oof.
And it's always the same. I reckon I got into, first time I always liked coffee, but then I spent a few Julys in Japan with Hookie. And like Hookie was there with the Japanese team, so I'd stay at my motel and I'd just stay with him all day long. And he had this coffee machine there, and he was thinking he was pretty good on the latte art and stuff like that. So I was always terrible, because I put it down to experience. He had more experience. Anyway, I went to another level, got home, bought myself a coffee machine and just practiced for probably years now. So
you did latte art, the whole deal?
Yeah, I can hit it. I mean, I'll post on Instagram when I do it. It looks like it's every day, but it's probably 1 in 100. I get like a really nice creamy flour or something on it.
What milk do you use?
Always full cream.
See, I'm full soy.
Yeah, okay.
Which isn't the best for the art. I don't even bother.
That's pretty much why I went away from it, because
so you were soy milk.
I've been soy and oat for a while, and then I realised oat had...
You can't do any art.
I couldn't do any art. But full creams, I think it tastes pretty good too, but it's so much easier to get a bit of cream on top.
See, I went... You know what? Fuck milk for me. I'd milk my whole... I'm not dairy free. Like, I have cheese, like chocolate, the whole deal. But I just don't drink milk anymore. Driving to fucking Manjimup. I had so many shit coffees with full cream milk. So basically for 5 days, I just drank warm milk. And I was like, you know what? This ain't it. And I honestly just could not stomach having another coffee. And I've just literally went off milk. And I got Bonsoy.
Okay.
That's
so if I have soy, it's always Bonsoy, because our truck at the race has got a real high-end coffee machine.
Sick.
And I'm pretty sure I must be one of 2 out of the 8 that have full cream. So everyone's on soy. Bonsoy is the go. If someone makes me a Bonsoy coffee, I'm fine with that.
But it's just you can't do the art with it.
You can't do the art as good. Well, you've got to know what you're doing.
When I got to Dubai, I literally went on Marketplace and I looked for the exact Breville. I just got like the old school Breville, full manual, nothing auto on the thing. I went straight on Amazon. I bought a set of scales. I weigh my beans because you can't trust.
So what's the coffee like? Like, I've never even thought about what it'd be like over there.
Have you been over there before?
No.
Oh, really?
What's the social life like? What do you in the mornings? Do you go for coffee? Is it?
No.
What's that place like?
Yeah, there's so many sick spots.
Yeah.
Like there's go type in cafe. I think it's called Cafe Moto Dubai. So like this, dude, there's so much cool shit over there. Right. There's a place that was close to where I was living. Nah, go down. Did you type Cafe Moto?
Oh, and the images there.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's it. Cafe Rider, there it is. Go to that one. Go right to the right of that. Yeah, go there. Cafe Rider, that's what it's called. Yeah, click on some of the photos. They got all these old dope Ducatis and shit in there. So yeah, just full, yeah.
Yeah.
But like they're expensive. I think it's probably like about $7 or $8 for just a normal small coffee.
Which I'd probably pay every morning. I reckon that I don't live a really luxurious life.
We're not on a pension.
I love a good coffee. So, yeah.
But no, I'm that serious about it. I do like my beans. I weigh it. Yeah. Like I never just pour the beans straight in the top and fucking let it. It's just got to be weighed perfectly, tamped out perfectly. Like just measure the whole deal.
So I've gone to I used to just like I'd put like 30 kilos for that thing. As hard as I could push it down, I'd push it in. But now I'm holding it off the ground, and then as hard as I can do it without pushing in. And apparently that's around that 12 to 15 kilos, which is supposed to be optimum.
Have you ever seen the tamp? It's like a torque wrench.
Click. It's got a click.
Yeah. Torque wrench tamp thing. You can go
which
so
I can't believe
deep.
I haven't got, because I'm always like that kind of. I love the facts. Like I want it, like everything to be factual, and I want to know exactly what's going on. But I need to up my game there.
Go to Alternative Brewing Co. This is dude. I'll show you the coffee machine I bought for the Cape. What was it called? Because we did the 2-week trip up to Cape York on the bikes, and I was like, I'm not having coffee the entire time.
Yeah, so I'm just making a bit of a camp setup.
Go to the normal thing. Get one of these, bro, for the camping. It's called a Bell. Yeah, that's it, Bellman.
Well,
there it is.
Talking about battery sizes, so I'm probably going to need something pretty big if I get that.
Dude, this is on gas.
Oh, right.
So you put this on your stove. See, it's got like the spout off to the side of it. And so you grind up your coffee, you put it in, and then the water, like it steams, it's basically pressurized. Yeah. So the pressure builds up to a certain amount, and then that creates a steam, and then once you release that valve, see the little knob?
Yeah.
Once you release that, it starts the steam and the water starts getting released through the coffee and extracts the coffee, right. And then you get your shot, and then you've got on the other side, that's your steam wand.
So what's your cup on the bottom side of that thing?
Yeah, so on the
bottom,
on the bottom side of that, the small knob there.
Yeah,
it's pretty gangster. You can't.
That's what we need for QMP on a Thursday.
Oh, I'll take it out.
Yeah.
No, I'll take it out next time we ride. But yeah, it takes a little bit to get it, to get your bearings dialed with it, because it's like different to making an all coffee.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's something too geeking hard on coffee.
Yeah, I'm not scared to admit I love geeking out on it. Yeah.
Does the attention to detail and coffee bleed over to like the road race thing? Is that why you think is that one of the strengths in your game?
I reckon I've become technical,
more like that.
Yeah, I definitely was when I was younger. I had no idea about the details really. I was just a guy that just jumped right on a bike really. But yeah, now I'm definitely into that. Which you've seen with my motocross thing. Like I never used to worry about clickers, or I just get the bike from the shop and ride it.
Yeah.
Whereas now I'm at home the night before, making sure the clicks where they need to be, change tension right, and adjusting things and doing. I've even what right do I have to knock the tension on my fork triple cam bolts from 19 back to 15 or 16? I can't feel that shit. But I read on Google or read on YouTube that it was going to be whatever better. Yeah. So here I am with changing my fork tension. I got no idea why.
I'm here for it, bro.
Yeah.
I'm here for it. Yeah, it's all part of it.
Yeah. Now I've met someone that's on the same page. So.
Oh, dude. Yeah, I enjoy it. I mean, Matt, it's funny. Like me and Matt are so different because he does not care at all. Have you met Franco? Jax Franco? Yeah,
I think so. He was helping at Talent Ben. Yeah. I've met him, yeah.
So he runs, shout out Franco's Race Shop. He's got a sick shop in Townsville.
Yeah, I think I follow it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you follow him?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so he's the fucking man. But basically, he just sends Matty. Matty sends his forks down. He sends it to Matty. Matty's like, yeah, Franco shit's the best. And he puts it in and just doesn't touch it. And then Franco flies down, watches Matty ride, like does the adjustment.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. And Matt's bike is so fucking dialed. Even Rones rode it the other day and goes, that's the best bike I've ever ridden, I think.
Yeah, okay.
But Matt doesn't touch nothing. Yeah. Doesn't give a fuck. And I'm the exact...
Full trust in Franco.
Yeah, he's just like, that's sweet. And then he's like, yeah, Franco said he's got a new shock setting, which I'm pretty excited about. Won't change the shock that's in his bike now, but once Franco sends it, then they'll be pumped. But me, I just like to fuck with it. Yeah,
I have to question why they've done something. I thought that might have been a road races thing, but I think it's just some people like that.
Yeah.
It's not that I think people are wrong or right or wrong. I just like to question it. Want to figure it out for myself.
What can you feel on a dirt bike? Like, what can you notice?
I reckon I've got a pretty good front end feel.
Yeah.
Like coming from road racing.
Yeah.
Definitely like on flat corners and stuff, I can feel the balance. I think I can feel the balance of the bike pretty well.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That's why people talk about the Honda being a bit vague in the front.
Yeah.
Like, I hope that would help me. That I would suit that bike a little bit because
you've got a good front
feel
feeling.
for the front.
Yeah. No,
I would say that, to be honest. Yeah, coming from flat track and stuff like that.
Yeah. Because I noticed when you were riding the other day, you've got road races that go fast on dirt bikes have a pretty distinct style. Like take Jack out of it because he's a motocrosser first, you know. But like you riding, Casey riding, like you can see some of the other boys in Europe, there's a very similar style. Yeah. And one thing that I noticed with you guys is just really, really good corner speed, which you would expect, but also just like powering through turns a lot. Like there's not a lot of, you in particular as well, like it's not like you're going super deep on the brakes into turns. It's very like brake and then more like carrying that corner speed. It seems very, very road racy.
Yeah, because I think you find on a road bike, I don't know, for me on a road bike, it's like the bike can only take so much load.
Yeah.
And so you've got to, one, you don't want to be transitioning load quickly on a road bike because you unsettle the bike, you get chatter, take weight off the front of the rear, you lose grip straight away. And I think on a road bike for me, I think I always try and achieve an even amount of load the whole way around the track. So don't override the front tyre and the braking. Definitely at the start of the braking you're really loaded, but by the time you come to the point where you let go of the brakes, say, you want it to be a pretty smooth transition from brake to mid-corner.
Yeah. And
then you don't want to be too aggressive on the throttle and push too much weight in the rear too soon. So it's all about keeping the balance. And I think that's how I ride on the motocross bike as well. So I don't really race into a corner hard on the brakes, the rear wheel off the ground, and just sort of roll, but then the bike's in a really balanced position for the middle of the corner.
Yeah.
And probably, maybe if you spoke to a pro motocross guy about the same thing, they're like, oh yeah, that's how we do it too, but that's not how I feel like it should be done. It's weird, lad. Like, I'm sure for a motocross guy, or if you ride a road bike, after riding on the back of, say, Jack, you would think, oh, so aggressive, like pitching this way, pitching that way. But for us, it doesn't feel like that. So I guess maybe on the motocross bike, that's how they feel. They feel like they're really holding an even load as well. But for me, it looks like when I watch them guys, they just like full maximum brake, dump the brake, just smash the side of that berm or rut. Or motocross guys are always looking for the smallest little knuckle, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like I find it, a QMP, when it's really smooth, it's funny watching a really good motocross guy because
they're always on the edge of something, like trying to find
when the track's
a bank.
really smooth. It's like they'll go and do a 20-minute warm-up and build them up. They won't just come through sideways and take a few different lines. It's like they're just naturally always looking for something to hit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sure like Casey would be the same. He would look at the track different to a motocross guy.
Yeah.
That's just what we grew up with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, Casey's so cool to go ride with. Like he really break turns down, and like he can tell you, okay, this is definitely the fastest way to go through this turn, where like I don't have that eye to just look and say this is how this is the maximum you could do this turn, you know.
You know, I just thought of this. I'm pretty sure it was on your podcast with Casey. what was that, 2 year ago?
Yeah.
So I'm like 35 when the podcast came out. And I'm like, Phillip Island is like, mate, that place, I'm like a beaten dog with that place.
Yeah.
I get there thinking I love it and leave there with my tail between my legs every time.
Yeah.
So anyway, in the podcast, I'm pretty sure it was this podcast, he mentioned at, say, I think it must have been Lukey Heights, I think he mentioned, which is you go up around the hill.
Yeah.
And then you just come directly into a right-hand corner. And he mentioned that, I just get to the top of the hill. You won't be able to quote me on it, but I'm pretty sure it's something like, I just get to the top of the hill as quick as I possibly can because there's no exit, so it doesn't matter what happens on the exit. Yeah. So why should I come around the back of the corner, set myself up for an exit that's not there? And I've just like put that into my thought process. I'm like, why didn't I think of that? Like, I was just at Morgan Park the other day, 2 days ago, and it's got a corner that's like really fast downhill, like 230 an hour.
Which one?
Oh, you've been to Morgan Park?
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure that's where I rode. So that you got.
I think you've mentioned on the podcast you had been there. It's a real outback, like in Warwick.
Yeah, and you got the start straight. There's a chicane before you come onto the start straight, and then a right-hander. Exactly. Then you go up to the left,
up under the bridge,
and then down the bridge. Then you got a right, and then
around a fast left into
another
right. And then you go left,
up, and then
you go all the way down the back. It's really fast.
Yeah. So the fast left hand. Yes.
And then you go right, and into that right. Yeah. It's pretty, like it's a pretty gnarly corner. Like it's bumpy, and anyway, they've just resurfaced that corner.
Oh, so that was fucked. That
rough,
corner.
Yeah. So when it was rough. Yeah. So this is how I got thinking about it. When it was rough, the only way through was just to brake for that apex because it was so rough, and then you just get out of there as well as you can. Well, it's resurfaced now, so I'm coming through there, staying as far left as I can to try and make a good exit. And then I'm like, a session or two in, I'm like, why am I making an exit for? You go directly from that corner. Before you even open the throttle, you're on the brakes for the next corner. Yeah. It reminded me of that, like Casey's advice, which I think was on this podcast. You'll have to check, but yeah, like, and I never thought of that in my whole career. Like, that, I guess there's probably other things he could help me with if he's out there and he wants to just flick me a message on his go-to for going to a track. But like that kind of, I don't know why I never thought about that because I'm a pretty technical sort of rider. Yeah. But yeah, it makes perfect sense. And like, so now I go to Phillip Island, like, don't try and, because the corner he's talking about at Phillip Island, it's like on a super bike or bigger, especially a GP bike, the rear's just got no weight on it. It's just so easy. But on the point to where you would make the exit, there's actually camber. So, you know, what he's essentially doing is just riding up that hill in the camber with maximum grip. When he gets to the top of the hill, he's just turning around and braking. Whereas I think for all these years I've been trying to hang out, and then come through the top of the corner when the weight disappears from the rear tyre and try and exit, which can't happen because you just
So you're trying to like technically do it right when it's like you don't have to just do it like this and shortcut that whole process.
Exactly. If there was a 1K straight after that, the line I was taking would be more relevant, basically. But because there was no exit to that corner, you get to the top of the corner and then you brake for the next corner. And I'd never actually thought about it that way, and it's pretty basic when you think about it.
Well, we were out, you know, where you crashed that tabletop there. Yeah. You know, like the next sort of down the hill when you kind of come up and then you go down and go right. We're hitting that corner, and then I can't remember like exactly what his advice was, but he's like, let's just hit this corner a few times. I've always struggled in that corner, and it was a case of just like slow down to go fast. And then Rones was actually filming, and there's just like, I was just hitting this, it just didn't even look like me on a bike, and I was like literally just doing what he said, not even thinking about it, not trying to go fast, like just doing exactly what he said. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, this
probably
is crazy.
Less energy, faster,
way better, dude. But that's like that's the annoying thing about motocross, or like doing shit right on a motocross bike, is that it doesn't take any energy when you do it right, and it feels so much slower than when you're trying to do it fast. Like, I had Townley do a couple of days coaching with me last year. Oh yeah. And it was unreal. Like, he's the man. Yeah. But every time I did it perfect, it felt like the easiest and slowest time I did it. That's so hard to replicate. Yeah. Because it's the exact opposite of like what you're sort of trying to go for. You're like, surely when I do it right and at its fastest, it should feel like that. Yeah. So then you've got a comparison like, oh, that felt faster, that felt faster, that felt faster.
It's not always the way. Yeah. Yeah, my first years in America, not my first years, the years I got right into my motocross, my last 2 years in America, would have been like 07, 08, when Villopoto was like
the Don.
He was still on the light spike, I think, but he was going fast. And I do like what was it, like Tuesday Cahir, Wednesday Paris, Thursday.
Oh, so you were living in Cali?
I was living in a Best Western in Temecula.
Wow.
For like 6 months straight. Yeah. Sorry.
6 months you were just living in a Best Western in Temecula.
I reckon it was 6 months.
Sick.
Yeah, when I first signed with KTM.
Yeah.
They basically just gave me the work credit card and a van, a ute, and just said, as long as you're training, we're happy to pay for it.
Wow.
And they had to deal with the Best Western. I think I had Brett Medcalf's like old ute, because he must have been there. Like he would have been pretty young then, I guess, was he?
Yeah,
I can't remember. Anyway, and so
he
I was living there.
KTM like 04, I think. 04, 05, 06 maybe.
Yeah, okay. So I joined in 07. So maybe his old work car.
Yeah.
And and so I'm going on the motocross tracks. And I remember one day, because Villopoto parked right near me, and I'd been there for maybe 2 motors or something. I'm doing my laps, and I'd always be stop watching what I was doing. He goes out, and so I watched, and it's like he's on a flat track. He wasn't hitting any of the same lines. It's like he carved his own lines in. He's fast as soon as he finished, I go out, and there's all these new lines carved in. Yeah. I reckon I was like 3 seconds or that faster without even trying. Like, so it's not even that they're way better than you.
Yeah.
They also see shit you don't see.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, how are you supposed to compete with that? Some people just live a few tenths ahead of everyone else, I reckon. Like, he was one of them guys. Like, there was always a lot of good, fast guys at the track, as you know, in the local stuff. But, like, some of them guys would rock up and just change the whole track, make it look easier. But it was actually easier because they just took more efficient lines. Yeah.
Did you spend much time riding at Glen Helen?
Yeah, I'd done a lot of Thursdays at Glen Helen.
What did you think of that joint?
I loved it.
Yeah.
Because I just sort of got to the point where I was able to ride sort of rough tracks, and because I was a flat track kid, I rode in the bush and a lot of flat track. I never really rode rough tracks. But after them, I think I was in America 05, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
2 years were with Husky, and so I never done any motocross then. But when
was
I joined,
that doing Supermoto?
Yeah. 4 years in Supermoto. That was how I started it, because at 05 would have been maybe 17, 18 maybe, 17, 18.
Yeah.
And I did 4 years doing that. And the 2 years with KTM, I was just able to do. At one stage, I had a KTM Super Duke naked bike, like a road bike. Just turn the handlebars upside down, so it's like a road bike. Had my factory Supermoto bike, and my motocross bike in California, and one in Wisconsin where the team was. And like I just made friends with the mechanics, and I'd get like exhaust, factory tires. Like I was just a Supermoto kid, but I got to sort of live like a pro motocross guy trains in the week. It was so good. Yeah. And like riding them tracks, Glen Helen especially was good. And I think I'd do like Monday I wouldn't ride. I think I might be wrong, but I think it was Tuesday, Cahir Creek. Is that right?
Maybe Wednesday?
Was it Wednesday? I thought Wednesday was Paris for some reason.
I could, yeah.
But there was anyway, it was 3 days in a row, and Thursday was Glen Helen.
Yeah.
Then Friday I'd go to this place called Adams Kart Track.
Yeah. That's near Milestone, eh?
Yeah. And I'd ride there. And like Nicky Haiden would turn up sometimes, and I was loving life. Like,
dude, America is fucking cool.
Yeah.
If you like 2 wheels, and you like, or 2 or 4 wheels, like, you cannot beat Southern California.
Yeah, and I was just like a 17, 18-year-old, 19, 20-year-old, like, fan. And Supermoto was all the old guys were coming back to race it. So I'm like
Wardy and
McGrath, Henry, Chad Reed to go to X Games. Like, I'm just going to the track, and all these heroes are rocking up. And then I'd go to the motocross track, and they'd be there. It was just unreal. Best time of my life, really. Yeah. And I only stumbled across it. Like, I rode flat track, and I was like, when I was 16, I was just, I think at the time it was like the trading post. You wouldn't be online looking for bikes. I'd be getting the trading post and saying, Dad, there's a 250 production bike, road bike. Let's get that and go road racing. And we're like, we can't afford that. And then it was like Supermoto started gaining a bit of momentum, and I think the World Championship was coming to Australia, but I was still too young.
Yeah.
And my dad's like, I'll go and have a go. So he went down
Really?
he went down to the Victorian titles, which was a qualifying event, and he qualified to do a wild card in the World Championship, which he never done. But so he bought this bike. And he's like, okay, when you turn senior, we'll do Supermoto because that means you can learn road racing on a cheaper sort of platform.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just one thing led to another. At the time, they were doing like once a year. They'd done this Sydney Tennis Centre had like an event like around Olympic Park, and all the Australian motocrossers and road racers had come and do it. So I got to race against some bigger names, and I was probably the only non sort of pro rider, like bigger name that had a reasonable amount of speed. And yeah, just one thing led to another, and I think I was riding Husqvarna and no one wanted to ride the Husky, and a guy crashed in America before the first round, and they said, oh, if you buy a ticket over, we'll give you a bike to ride. And I got second in the race, and they had to bring me back. And I remember when I got there, I think I was making like $400 a week working for Dad, and I got this phone call to go ride the first round of the AMA Supermoto Championship. And like it was a big deal for me because I was just a dirt track kid. Like it wasn't like I was riding pro motocross or something. And on that stage, like a big dirt track event, it wasn't televised or anything. And I'm there, and Doug Henry's there, and Wardy, and yeah, it rained, and I got second in the race. And I remember when I got there, they like, you sign up for the contingency plans. So Husqvarna, I'm using Dunlop tyres, got goggles, whatever. I think I made like $6,000 for getting second off for the weekend. Anyway,
just off contingency.
Off contingency. This is anyone can get it. So like at the time, I'm making $400 a week. So I get back, and they're like, "Oh, we want you to come back because you're obviously second in the championship." The next one was a double head around at Copper Mountain. I'm riding two classes. I remember that night. I was probably legless drunk with my team manager or manager at the time, Paul Feeney, and my best mate had started his apprenticeship, and I'm pretty sure he was making like $20,000 a year or something. And I was just anyone there. I wasn't on a team. I just signed these bits of paper, and I made $20,000 US on the one weekend. I was like, holy crap, I'm going to be able to make such good money out of this sport.
Yeah.
So I got home, and Dad's like, I think I was more of a hindrance at work. He just gave me a job. So he's like, as long as you're putting in and training and riding, while you've got money in the bank, you just do that. And if you needed some work, come and work with me, and hopefully you get a ride out of it. Yeah. So that first year, I was like, that was 2005. I ended up making probably $80,000 or $60,000 in just contingency. I went to America 4 or 5 times. I'm like, holy crap, I'm gonna be a pro motorbike rider here. Like I'm gonna live on hedges when I'm older. Yeah. And then pretty much like from 2008, 2009 when the GFC hit, it just went. I'm like, I went from thinking Supermoto was going to take me to a lifelong career. I'm like, holy crap, this sport's going to die now. Like
it's crazy it just
how
fell quick over. It went. Like there was a point of time where X Games, you'd have like McGrath, it was like fully televised. You'd have Chad was racing, Travis was in on it, like so many dudes were in on it. Yeah. And then it just went. Yeah.
I only got to do X Games a couple of times, but it was like all the big names were there. And then they had the Moto X World Championship where it was just a motocross only or motorbike only X Games, and you get all these big names. It was good fun. Yeah, it's pretty cool to be a part of.
There's a dude, I think it's Josh McLean.
Yeah. He's still going over, and
he's over there right now,
and he's going really well.
Yeah, but he's like, there's just zero money. Like he can barely afford to even actually go and do it. Yeah. And it's like if he was in your era, he would have been killing it.
Exactly. Yeah. It's all luck of the draw, really, isn't it?
Yeah, just timing and like the way it worked out. So when was the first time you ever rode raced a road bike then? 21?
Well, so 08, what was I? 08, 21, yeah. I actually planned to stop. I was going to, whether I won the championship in 08 in the Supermoto bike.
What was the bonuses and shit for that? Was it decent?
Yeah, I think I made, for the year, I reckon I made 120 US, I think.
Which was good back then too. Yeah. Oh wait, nah. The
dollar
was
dollar
like basically the same.
It was basically the same,
Yeah.
But I mean, the sport wasn't that big. Like, so I was making a good living, and better than I was making in Australia the next 5 years.
Yeah.
riding road bikes. But then again, I didn't have any reason to get paid either. I was just super lucky. So what had happened was I had decided in '08, that's it. I'm going to go road racing. 'Cause I wanted to be a road racer.
Forever?
Not forever, but from when I was sort of 15, 16.
Yep.
Yeah. And then, like, obviously Casey was going road racing. So I was around, Casey's a year or a year and a half older than me.
Yeah.
So I'd often be often be in the same race as him. Never really racing him, but yeah, often.
In
like
dirt track.
we were a similar age group. So I'd be coming in an age group, he'd be going out. And then.
Was he just a freak at dirt track?
Like crazy.
Yeah, because that's what, like, he will brag more about dirt track than MotoGP. Like, he's like, all right, I was good at MotoGP, but I was fucking good at dirt track.
Yeah.
Like, he was
literally, it was like he was, like, so he was obviously more skillful than pretty much every kid, or was. But from, like, I didn't know him that well. We'd obviously say hello, and, like, he was a pretty quiet kid, but always super respectful. But from what I knew of him and seen of him, it was like he just had an adult's head on his shoulders.
Yeah, for sure.
So, like, kids make mistakes. Like, there's you race your dirt bike all weekend, and there's 3 4-lap finals. They take like 1.5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's a lot of pressure on a kid. He just got a start, or he didn't get a start. He'd make his way to the front. He just rarely made little kids' mistakes. I think one weekend he won like 5 Australian titles in one weekend, rode all these different classes. And you know what? His bikes were always the most beaten up looking bikes. They were always pretty fast, but like never had like really new looking stuff. But yeah, it was just like he had an adult head on his shoulders.
Wonder what it was with him, like if it was just the feeling that he had, like it just so... Could you even hear the way he talks about MotoGP, like you're saying with that, you know, the turn at Lukey Heights or like turn 3, like the shit that he's feeling on a bike is like next level, just to have like that level of, I don't know whether it's like he instinct. Can pay attention so much. Yeah. Like he's riding around the track and he's going full speed and going at that maximum level, but he's still able to like listen or, you know what I mean? Like I think feel some people,
something. I reckon it's like Jett Lawrence looks right now. Like some people are just, one, they're super comfy with speed and their reflexes are good, but they're just a few corners or a few tenths ahead of our brain.
Yeah.
I think maybe he just can think, 1, outside the square, and 2, just a bit ahead of everyone else. Yeah. Or nearly everyone else. Once you get to MotoGP, I'm sure there's a lot of people.
A lot of guys that have that.
But as a junior rider, there was kids that were fast. Like he had it hard a lot of the time. He had hard races, but he just often come out on top.
Yeah, so, winners win kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, so for that reason, he was going road racing. I wanted to be a road racer. And there's other kids that at that time that went on to be Australian champions and stuff. So I wanted to do that kind of stuff. And then, so anyway, in 08, I was like, okay, I'm going to go road racing no matter what. So I actually flew home to Australia. I couldn't find anything overseas, like in America. And I didn't try and go to Europe. But I hadn't ridden a road bike. I had that KTM Super Duke. And it's funny, I rocked up to Eastern Creek for like one of their rounds, and it was just before my final round. Then I was going to fly back and finish the championship off. And the team was sponsored Red Bull, so I had a Red Bull hat on, and I just rocked up to Eastern Creek with my backpack on my own.
And a Red Bull hat.
I'm thinking I'm the coolest guy. The reason I used a Red Bull hat was because I went to Yamaha, I think, and I'm pretty sure it was the Yamaha guys, and asked who's in charge there, and hi, I'm Troy. I'm going to go road racing next year. I'd love to have a test ride, or, I want to ride in your team. And they're like, oh, yeah, you're sponsored by Red Bull. Oh, yeah. How much money can they bring to the team?
Yeah. Welcome to road racing.
Welcome to road racing. Then I go over to the Honda tent, and I waited for 20 minutes, and the team manager comes over and just literally laughed and was like, yeah, 100 grand, mate, and you can ride any one of these bikes you want.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
right.
All right, yep, cool. And then Suzuki gave me a test ride on their bike, like for no real reason. I think.
And you've never ridden one.
Yeah, well, so Jay Foreman. Yeah. He ran a Supermoto team in Australia again, like for Suzuki.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I know later on, he put in a good word for me. Sean Giles is a legendary Australian racer.
Yep.
He must have put in a word. Anyway, they gave me time of day, and they gave me a test ride. And so I went to Winton Raceway on a cold day. It was raining in the morning.
Fuck that.
Had like 2 15-minute sessions, and I was like 7 seconds a lap off the lap record ever. Got into the week, I'm like, oh, that was good. That's over. And Phil Haiden, the team owner, offered me a contract. Like, it was...
That is insane.
I look back and it was like, how... Like, what reason...
Yeah.
Like, I had no right to be walking into that truck and saying, I want to ride.
Yeah.
But it's funny later on, like, it was sort of a bit of a... There's a few people who were, like, a bit annoyed that I got the ride. But then, like, young guys come up to me now and ask me, oh, yeah, I want to go to Superbike class next year, or, you know, how am I going to get in a team? No one's like... No one's got an eye on me.
Yeah, no one's hitting me up.
I'm have you walked up to such and such and put your hand out and shook his hand? Oh, no. Like their dad's called them or something. Like,
yeah.
Like, you rarely see someone young. It's not you don't see it, and it's not now. It's forever, I think. Just young people aren't that confident. Whereas, I think my dad was always like, if you want to get in there, you got to get in there and shake their hand and start talking to them.
Yeah. It's
a lot harder for them to say no when you're looking them straight in the eye.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, that was it. 2009, I moved back to Australia and I raced Supersport for 2 years and then moved on to the Superbike. And I've just stayed in Australia since then, really. I've done 1 year in Germany and I quit racing after that. It took 18 months off, and then that brought us through till 2014. And then from that point on, I just stayed with Honda in Australia. And, That's so wild. Yeah, it was so funny how it all happened. Like, yeah.
What made you think that you could?
You know, when you're younger, you're sort of just
an idiot.
Yeah. I had
like
no,
in the best way possible.
Yeah, I had no right.
Literally,
there was a couple of guys, like not Casey. I wasn't comparing myself to him, but like, so Jason O'Halloran, who's a top British Superbike rider, Josh Waters, a top Australian Superbike rider.
Yeah.
Them two I grew up with racing dirt track. They were better than me too, to be honest. But like, I was like, oh, they can do it, but why can't I do it? And then, I just sort of I was a decent dirt tracker. I was a decent motocross rider. I was good at the supermoto bike. I'm like, I can do that.
Yeah, I'll
just go and ride road bikes. But it was a lot different to what I thought. Like, it was scary. So my first ever test. So, I did that ride at Winton. It was literally 2 15-minute sessions. My next ride was a 3-day test at Phillip Island.
Oh.
And it was private track, factory Suzuki MotoGP, factory Cowie, which was Hayato or whatever the year they pulled out.
Yeah.
And then World Superbike Suzuki, and then us. So there's like 8 people on the track. One's Chris Vermeulen and one's Marco Melandri. I am like first day on a road bike properly. I hit a seagull the second lap down the straight.
No shit.
Come on the straight and I'm riding down. It's just flying down. I'm smashed into it. But like everyone was really welcoming. But man, I was shitting my pants.
Dude.
Like, I was so scared. I remember on the second day or third day, Melandri's come past me and he's on an in-lap. Out of turn 2, he's come past me, so I got the whole lap and I'm chasing him and he's on his in-lap. Comes out of Siberia up the hill and he's just smoking the tyre up. Comes out of MG, and then from MG, which is turn 10, you go into turn 11. From turn 11, you can go into the pits. And it comes back on itself.
Yeah.
And all the good guys just smoke it up coming into there. I'm like probably doing my best lap of the weekend. He's on his in-lap. He comes out of MG, looks back, sees me there and just rips smoke off this GP bike all over me, and I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, and then smokes it up, gets a bit of a wobble, looks back and just like gives me a bit of a wave, and then I get going. I'm like, how cool is this? I'm a road racer now. Like, how good is this?
Dude, I actually can't believe that's how this whole thing went down.
Yeah. It was really like, there's a bit in the fine print. I bought a ZX6 and got to do 2 track days and a race on it. So like,
but that's not.
Yeah, like it wasn't. That was it. Like, that was literally it. But I mean, Supermoto was like, you know, you're on good road tires and you're getting a feel for road bikes. So it is giving you some experience. It wasn't like I had no experience whatsoever.
But just the speed and the commitment that, especially at PI, like, to just like. I did a Ducati
Oh yeah.
deal there.
Did you ride a big Ducati? Like what sort of Ducati did you?
So I spent most of the day on a V2, but it was Ollie's race bike. So Ollie's V2.
Still capable of 270, 280.
Yeah, I was on 280 down the straight on that one, and then I got on the naked.
Oh yeah.
The V4R, but the naked. Yeah. And I went faster on that thing.
Yeah, because you probably were. Did you feel like you were more in a natural position?
Yeah. There's like photos of me on that bike. Like I got photos back from that day, and I was like, "Fuck, you actually look like solid riding that one."
Yeah.
But just like I remember the first session going down the start straight and just going underneath the sign, and like. That's where I was backing off because like that's sort
me
of
too.
You can't
too.
see,
yeah.
And then I would like see guys that were just like, just past that sign wedged, and I'm like, fuck off, no way, like that's not possible. And then sure enough, you come the next lap, and I'm like, right, just flat past that sign, and you're just like, and everything feels so gnarly, but the commitment to then just like lean it and carry speed through turn 1 and then turn 2 and then fast turn through, like it's just wedged and it's just full commitment the entire time.
That track is
so for like you to have to like go there with all those fast guys around you, like this is your job now.
Yeah,
like that's so gnarly.
Yeah, it was so daunting. Like but I think I was 22, I guess. Yeah 22. Yeah. But yeah, it was like, crazy. Yeah.
How much did you improve in that test?
I know I done 41s or something in the first session, and I think I finished on a 37. So like I didn't improve as much as it sounds, but that's quite a lot really.
It's a big improvement.
And then the lap record was 35.9 or something, 35.2 or something like that. So I was sort of like any good rider really. You get to that 2 seconds away pretty easy. Like if I got on a MotoGP bike at Phillip Island, not saying I get to 2 seconds, but I'd probably get to 3 seconds, say, pretty easy. Yeah. Easy. And then from there on, it is just like impossible. A lot of commitment. Yeah. So I'd say any good rider would get on anything really. And then you get to yourself within reason. But it's a big commitment to go from, because like that first day, I think I was like Casey's corner, turn 3, I was 4th gear through there, and the Haysheds, the fast right at the hill, I was 4th gear there, and my teammate Josh at the time, Josh, he was like, oh, you should be in 5th there, and like the Hayshed, you'll be pretty much full noise in 5th. I'm like, wait, what?
Nah, bro.
No, mate, it's not possible. How am I going to get to that speed up there? Like, it's just crazy. And then, a year later, I was doing that speed, but it just all happens really, doesn't it? When you, sometimes everyone's different. Like for me, when I get out in a race, it's just things just happen. Like you ride around for 3 days there, and I'm struggling. Then I think at the race meeting a week later, I might have went a second faster in the first session. So as soon as you get out there with other guys, things just start to happen. But Phillip Island's one of them tracks. Honestly, you can be, especially on a 600, you can be off the pace, and then you get sucked up to speed like a push bike race. It just
right.
When you're in that pocket of wind, the bike handles amazing.
Okay.
When you're the guy out pushing that wind, I don't know what it's like for these guys with winglets and stuff on, but like our bikes get buffeted around quite a lot, so it's a lot easier, that track, when you're following. That's why when people talk about Casey at that track, it is pretty amazing how fast he is, because
he was always the first guy.
Yeah, he's always out there leading, and he's dropping them guys. They can't even stay in his draft. I think that's where like Casey must have had some kind of, he must have been fairly mad sort of guy, like, because I think that track rewards guys that want to just risk it. Yeah. And not saying he's a risk it sort of guy. He's obviously very calculated, but he must have had something in his brain that he just said, you know what, I'm just going to hold this thing on, because how do you get to that stage? It's like in a triple, like going through turn 3.
Yeah.
The way he does, it's like hitting a triple for the first time, because you're going so fast, you're steering with the rear of the bike, you can't back out of that because the thing's not going to turn. So like he's coming from like way back, lighting that rear tyre up. Not many people, I do that rarely on a race weekend. I might go through that corner, 100 times on a 3-day race weekend. It's probably not until the last few laps of race 3 that I'm doing what he does. Like, it's just one of them tracks, you know. Like, yeah.
Yeah, man. When I got on the back with Jack too, it was one of those things where one of my thoughts was like, okay, how did he know that was possible?
Yeah, at some stage he's got to work that out.
Like, how do you figure that out? Because I would not have thought that would be possible.
Yeah.
And like, I've ridden road bikes and I've like done track days, and that's not my thing. Like, I've done 2 track days in my life.
Yeah.
But at no point did I think that's possible. Like, I tell people it's like falling, you know, when you fall off a chair,
Yeah.
when you fall backwards, and there's that first second where you like literally like, okay, gravity's gone, I'm out of here now. That's what it feels like every time for me, I'm like, okay, yep, that's where I think I'm about to fall over.
Yeah.
And it's like, nah, they go way past that, and I don't know what catches them.
Yeah.
Because it's like you have that feeling that you're about to fall over, but they don't. And I'm like, how do you figure that bit out?
Yeah, and that's right. Even for, and like, yeah, and I know what happens there, but like, even for me, when you see a video footage of a GP bike and their shoulders on the ground, like that's sort of like, for me, I'm like, how does that happen? Like,
Yeah.
I try and get my elbow down. Like, I've got a bit of an old school style, but like, my shoulder's like that far off the ground. Like, it's like, how does gravity hold you there? Like, what's the force like? Like, how fit do you have to be to take that sort of G-force? Like, it must be a lot of force going through your body,
Yeah.
to be able to ride like that and not fall off the bike.
Yeah. Well, I just could not. I guess probably like I would have been in a more compromised like position, being up a bit higher and on the back and like it probably was harder for me to hold on than Jack. But like,
yeah,
dude,
it would have been for
two laps, man. I was fucking cooked.
Yeah.
Like I would have been really worried for myself if I had to go for 3. But like, yeah, and same with, you know, Casey turn 3. Like, how do you know that that's what you can do? That is where, you know, you look at Jett right now in like the 450 class. It's just there's such a gnarly level to the game that you can get to, and it's like, how though? Like, how are you the dude that found that?
Yeah, and it's amazing doing stuff like that when you've seen people do it, but being the first guy to do that kind of stuff, like that's when you see that's the special stuff. Like, I guess that's what gives athletes and racers the big buzz, is
that legend status as well too, is like the guys
a bit of a breakthrough, something, with Bubba Scrub or turn 3 at the island, something like that.
Yeah. Oh man, I just can't believe that was your introduction to road racing.
Yeah, it was,
and how did the first
so cool.
season go?
Oh, I crashed a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, I won a race. Actually, I won a race at Phillip Island. It was a dodgy conditions, wet, dry race, and so I had a good year. I think I got 4th or 5th in the championship, and I got a couple of podiums, but not many. I definitely wasn't fast, but I had glimpses of speed. So yeah, I was really lucky. Phil Haiden, who took me on, he ran Suzuki for years and years, and he had a lot of good riders come through, and he gave me a 1-year deal. He said, look, I want you for 3 years. I want you to do 2 years on the super sport bike, and then we'll put you on a super bike. And so the plan was to do that, and then even a 4th year really, and then, you know, learn, win, and I learned one, and then I learned, and then thought I could do better, and I went overseas.
Yeah.
And at the end of 2011, after my first year on the super bike, I didn't win a race on the super bike the first year. I got 2nd or 3rd in the championship, and I was going pretty good. I was definitely on the way to having what it took to win in this country anyway. And but I was like, at that stage, I think I was 25, and I was like,
you'd already been.
I really need to go overseas.
Yeah, you'd already been there before too. You sort of know how it works.
Yeah, and Phil was good. I said to Phil that I want to go overseas, and he said, look, I don't think this is your best career move, but I do understand why you want to do it, and so I did it. And it's funny, I went with a team that knocked me back, and then like December, I think the rider that they'd signed had taken his money elsewhere.
Yeah.
And so I got a call up late, and it was pretty funny because I went to the first. They all go to Spain for their winter testing, I guess, and all the German championship. I was in the German Superbike Championship with the BMW team, and I've rocked up there, and the team I was riding for wasn't a really good team at that stage, and they just had riders had a bit of coin on them, and they sort of made up the numbers, and they were good sometimes. There was one guy that was riding the bike was good, but anyway, I got there and I was going fast straight away, and it was like I had a fair bit of interest in that championship at the start, because I can only imagine that these teams assumed I had money because the team I was riding with. Plus, oh shit, this guy's actually pretty good too. And then when it got to midway through the year and I'm like living out of this camper and got no money, and everyone realised that like the opportunity started going away, and then I ended up just losing my ride. I was like 3rd or 4th in the championship, never seen one of the tracks we went to, and just one Saturday night before the races, the team decided to let me know that I've been dismissed, and that was it. I spent like 2 months driving around Germany and England. I went and rode a BSB race and like tried my best to find a ride. I actually found a ride with the official BMW team for 2013 in Germany. Got home and I was like, what am I doing this for? I was going to make it was all incentives, so I was going to make no money unless I got a win. I'd already spent too much money. It wasn't getting paid that year, and I'd been getting paid up into that stage of my life racing. Yeah. And I was like, I kind of always said if I got to 25 years old and I wasn't sort of making a living, probably it's time to go and get a job. And I remember I went to Mum and Dad's house. It was like November. They assumed that I was going to sign this contract and go back. And I'm sitting there at dinner. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to stop racing to Mum and Dad. And Dad's literally just like, yeah, righto. He just laughed it off. And then like 3 days later, I was like, yeah, so Dad, I sent that contract back. I'm not gonna race next year. Have you got a job for me? I'm like, I wouldn't mind having a month off and starting like first the next year. And he rang me like 3 hours later. He's like, if you want to work with me, we're starting Monday. I'm like, okay. So I went straight to work, and then I ended up working for 2 years. But I think after a year, that was like November, December, I think I went to the MotoGP the year after to watch. And I was down there having a beer with a few mates, and a mate of mine had seen on one of the socials that I'd been invited to this Troy Herfoss Classic, which is a dirt track event. Yeah. That they had an invitational race, and we were just on the piss there together. And he said, "Oh, ride my bike." He was a mate of mine, Matt Drane, his name is, and his son's over doing really well in flat track in America now, actually, and he had this, like, he always had really fast bikes when I was racing him. Yeah. He's like, I've got this hot rod at home and you'll love it. It must have been 2015 or something, or 14. But this bike was like a 2009 model, CRF 450 with a big bore 500 in it. And, like, it was a weapon. Yeah. So I went out to Forbes, had a ride on it, hadn't ridden a bike in a year, went to the Troy Herfoss Classic, and I went out and practiced, and I was just, like, loving it. It's like I hadn't been off a bike, and like there's a lot of big names there, and I had a great time, and I finished that event. I was like, that's it. Yeah, I'm going racing. Yeah. So I rang Honda, and the championship at that time was like a really stock championship. They'd sort of broken away from the Australian Championship, and doing this other series, and it was really standard. And the guy, I won't say who I spoke to, because what he said was like, oh, Troy, like I appreciate you want to ride the Honda, but like this championship, we're struggling at the moment in this championship. And I was like, look, you guys have got the best team in the country. You're the team I want to ride for. I'm just going to buy a Honda and do my best for the year, and let's see what happens at the end of the year. And then they were struggling to build my bike in time, and I had no idea how I was going to run this bike. Like, I had no money. I had a mate from Canberra gave me a bike to do a few rides on. I had no idea about looking after a bike. Like, I couldn't barely change a wheel or anything. Anyway, Hookie high-sized himself off the team bike at a support race at Phillip Island or something, 2 weeks out from the first round. And so the guys at Honda called me and said, oh, look, we haven't got your bike ready for you. Hookie's injured. Are you happy to sit in to like take his spot for the weekend? I'm like, so my first race back after 16 months or something on the Team Honda bike. So get a nice Alpine Star suit and new helmet and just rock up to Goulburn, my home race, like 2 minutes from home. But I hadn't ridden that track because I couldn't ride it as a junior. Like, I never ridden it. Yeah. I'd done a handful of days there, and it was real. I was like way off the pace at the start. But what had happened was they had Friday practice. I was 16th on day one. I hadn't ridden much at all. I was rusty as. I was scared trying to pass people. But the Saturday was racing, but it was the fastest laps you'd done was your position for the Sunday races, which was the main championship.
Yeah.
So I think I got like 15th in one of the races. But in the last race, on the last lap of the day, I got the fastest lap of the day and qualified pole position. And I'm like, what the hell? I'd done like a massive PB. I got like 8th in the race, but I was chasing people and got this fast that time. So I started my first race back. It was the Australasian Superbike Championship.
That is so funny.
Yeah, on pole position. I didn't win. I got 4th or 5th or something. I couldn't. Honestly, I was so rusty that in the race I was shitting myself because it's like at speed. I hadn't been in that situation. I couldn't. I literally did not pass anyone the whole day. And but yeah, after that that was the same thing. I got lucky again, and then they like, okay, we'll do your deal. I think they slotted me into the team like with Hookie and Jamie, my other teammate, and I think I paid everything. I paid accommodation, mechanics, and entry fee, all that kind of stuff. My tyre bill. Had a few personal sponsors helping me out, and then it was later on that year. I think I won my first race. There was 3-race format. I won my first race back. That was at Goulburn again in my home race. But the next race, I ended this Fireblade, and I was supposed to be paying crash damages, and it wrote the bike off. Anyway, there was 4 riders in the team, and they're all getting ready. I'm like, I'm not getting ready. I wasn't going back out for the 3rd race. And Paul Free was running the team, come up and said, Troy, what are you doing? We're out in 10 minutes. I'm like, mate, I cannot afford to fix that bike. I'm done. And Honda footed the bill, and I signed a contract rather the next year, and they looked after me the rest of that year, and then that was it. That was 14, and I just stayed with them since then because I sort of got a bit burnt in Europe.
Yeah,
they were so good to me, and I'm like, you know what? If I can make myself to where I'm making a living racing in Australia, I can live on the Gold Coast.
Yeah,
have a good lifestyle. I'm not going to be a millionaire, but I can race in a really competitive championship. I'm like, okay, that's really, I'm all in. I'm being the best Australian rider.
Yeah.
And so that's been me for the last 10 years.
Man, it's honestly not a bad way to go about it. I mean, there's I think there's a lot of pressure for people to go overseas and do the, there's a select few people that, if you've got the right time, the right situation, like have a run at MotoGP.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think V8 Supercars is a really good example of this. Like look at Brock Feeney. Him and Jack Dillon grew up together. They race karts together. They race everything together. Super competitive. Jack's going to do the F1 thing. Brock was just like, I'm staying in Australia. I don't have the funds to chase that. Yeah. So I'm going to try and get a good V8 Supercar drive, and I'm going to race in Australia. Like, it's a pretty solid pathway.
Yeah, it's great.
It's underrated.
Yeah, but when you're really young, it's hard to make the decision because you want to be a World Superbike or a MotoGP rider or a AMA Supercross champion, but not everyone can do that, unfortunately. And then as you get older, you realise that there's a lot of really talented riders out there. So don't go around thinking you're better than everyone else because you're probably not. Just work hard at what you got, and then that's what I done. I realise now that there is a shitload of riders out there that can beat me.
Yeah.
If they put their head down and they get the right opportunity. So I just work hard with what I've got, and then that's it. I'm happy with that because I get to race in a really competitive championship. I get to see young guys coming up. I'll be able to help them in the future. I'll probably be able to get a job in the industry.
Yeah.
Whereas when you go overseas, sometimes you're not forgotten about. But if you're not a leader over there, you're just a guy racing in Europe. You don't get heard about much. So as far as establishing myself in the sport after racing, I'm hoping that this has been a good move too.
Yeah. No, it makes so much sense. And just a lot of people don't want to commit to it. And it probably makes you a better racer to specialise here too. You really know the tracks. You get to go to do the track days, the testing. It would help you win by staying here as well. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm not the most talented rider in the country, but I've got a lot of experience. I'm pretty handy, and so that for that reason I'm making it hard for the young guys to take my ride.
Yeah. So then, how did the rest of those next few years play out? Like, how many championships have you won in the?
I won in that Australasian Championship. I won one there, and then I've won 2 Australian Superbike Championships since. So I've had 14 that first year I was third, then 15 I won, 16 I lost by 15th, 17th I won. 17, sorry, where am I? I started 14, sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
15 I won that other championship. 16 I think I won again in the Australian Championship. 17 I got beaten by 15th. 18th I won. 18 I won.
Yeah.
And then 19 was a really close race. I lost by 1 point or something.
Yeah.
And then
is that with Wayne?
No, that was with Mike Jones. It's probably one of the more famous recent Australian Superbike races, if there is fame in the Australian Superbike races. But that was a really good battle. And then 20, COVID.
Yeah,
it was a
COVID for 20.
Shortened year. We did race. Wayne won that year.
Yeah.
21, I was super competitive that year as well. 21, I got injured. Then 22, I was really injured, and now we're here.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much back to where I want to be now. I feel I can ride the bike how I want to ride it. But yeah, the crash in 21 was pretty much, it was pretty gnarly. Yeah.
You couldn't really see footage of that crash, like the way that the camera
I would
angle
love
that they got it.
if I could release all the angles or something to see what actually happened.
Did they just mustn't have got them? Because
no, I've only ever seen a slow motion.
The slow-mo where the bike hits the wall, but you're so what from your perspective, do you remember what happened?
I just tucked the front, yeah.
Yeah, because it looked like a nothing crash, but there was no gravel trap, and the wall was super close. Probably the worst place to low side.
Yeah, so you would never in a million years think you're going to crash there. I've done two.
It was first lap.
First lap, yeah. I've done 2-up drives, and the V8 guys are clicking gears there, where the Superbikes, because they accelerate so fast, you roll out of the throttle there, and I was doing 230, 228 k an hour or something ridiculous. And first lap, got out of the throttle, and the front just wasn't even looking like staying. I don't know if I was wheel standing a bit, just.
And then when you dropped it down,
it
you
was
dropped it on
slower.
an angle.
Yeah, and just tucked.
Yeah.
But as soon as I crashed that bike, I was
fuck.
I was I'm going to die.
Really?
That wall looked like it was head on. It was pretty. It was. I don't know what angle it was, but
it was pretty straight.
As soon as I crashed, I knew I was hitting that fence so hard. And then worse for me was the bike hit it and exploded the fence in the air. So I actually just went it must have been 80 to 120 k an hour. I don't know what it was, but just straight into a concrete wall. My whole right side. When you slow mo it, I was head first until the last minute. I've tucked to the right, and it just shattered my whole right side humerus out of the skin up under my arm, punch into my arm.
That's so gnarly, dude.
Yeah, just shattered the bone, 11 screws and plates, and then ribs. I broke a toe, some fingers. It just smashed my neck of femur, inches out of place, up into my butt cheek. And I just woke up in absolute excruciating pain at midnight that night, as they were trying to pull me up, because I guess they had me on so many pain meds and the worst kind of pain meds. It was getting a bit not touch and go. I'm not saying I nearly died, but I was starting to get a bit funny. There was blood loss and different fractures and it was getting pretty bad. So I was I had to sort of. You sort of come to before they can give you more painkillers or knock you out for the surgery. So I remember waking up and my mum and dad are above me, and I'm just screaming. The pain was immense, I'd never felt before. And then, because it was such a bad injury, nothing to do with the surgeons or anything, but I was bleeding and internal bleeding. They had 2 operations to do, so that they sort of just got the hip together, got the arm together, and then, the hip wasn't strong, and then it ended up re-breaking 6 weeks later. I went and realised it was snapped, and it was back out of place by a long way. And because neck of femur injury, you need to load it, and I'm being told to weight bear, and I'm walking
still
around
broken.
and then I spent a long time on painkillers, and that affected me, and it was I think it was a good month in a wheelchair at least, and then it I just had a kid at that stage. Yeah, like my daughter was like, I was like not walking for like, say, half of her life essentially. She was 3 months old when I crashed, and then like, I was in full-time care because we moved in with her, my wife's parents, and so I was under full-time care. Plus, she was raising a kid, and it was a brutal time, eh?
Hectic, dude.
Yeah, and then but we love racing motorbikes, like. Yeah,
then like you're so down to do it again.
Yeah,
like obviously you go, I won't crash there again, but you know, you just get back on the horse.
Yeah, but it did knock me around. Like, it's funny, the mental side of sports is something you always pay attention. Like I'm interested in.
Yeah,
and that, like, I've always felt like I could sort of rise above any mental sort of deficits that people have. I feel like I'm good in that area.
Yeah.
But that was hard to come.
That was a
past.
hill to climb.
Yeah, because the confidence was gone. So
because pain is a real motherfucker in that sense, you know. Like, that's the great leveler, is when you have to experience such a gnarly level of pain, but then when you get left with like the residue of, I might not be able to do this again. Yeah. I might not be able to do that again. Like, I broke my hip in 2020, and I'd had like heaps. I did like a degloving injury.
Yeah.
So like the skin came off basically like my back and my arse cheek on my left side.
Yeah.
And it all filled up with blood.
Oof.
And I like compressed heaps of. I literally, like, brand new bike, day one. Like, I'd been riding a super old bike, so bike kicked a little bit sideways. I was like, it's nothing to worry about. And then it's just kicked back on me, went straight into a fence. Tried to avoid the fence. It was like a barbed wire fence. And then, like, had to do this hard fucking turn to avoid that, and then just jump straight onto the track off a lip, and just like, it was just a comedy of errors for something that should have been not even a crash, and then just went straight down. But like, the pain you go through, and you're like, all right, that's sweet. But then it was like a couple of weeks after where I started like not being able to like feel my leg properly, and I started to have these, you know, when you see someone that's like paralyzed and they got like drop foot in a sense, where like their foot won't.
Yep.
Like, so I started getting that, and then I'm like, dude, have I just ruined my fucking life with this thing?
Yeah.
You know, like, am I never gonna be able to walk it? So I think that is where it's like that mental side of it. You know, the pain's one thing, and you know, you can kind of get through that. Once it's gone, you kind of forget about it. Like, you can't bring it back in the same way.
Yeah.
But when it is one of those injuries where you're like, I might never walk again, I might never do this again. That's, I reckon, when mentally you just really start to.
When you can't shower yourself or go to the toilet properly, and like, and you're just a massive burden on your family, and it's like, oh geez, what am I doing this for? And then, it's like, but then that's what makes I think that's what makes me tick, is like, not prove. I don't have to prove anyone wrong. No one thinks that I couldn't do it. I could do it again, but just proving to myself that I can sort of raise above that and get back to where I was. Yeah. I think I'll be pretty happy if I finish out this year. If I can definitely win another championship, I'd probably think about stopping maybe. I don't know. I don't know. Is that what I'm trying to do? Or I don't know what I'm trying to do, but I definitely feel like I had to get myself back to there just to prove to myself I could do it. Yeah. Even the cycling, I got back to done the National Road Championships again after my broken hip, and just to sort of try and tick a few boxes and feel like I'm back to where I was. Yeah. But definitely, that definitely knocked me around, that one.
Well, I feel like having that goal of either getting back to, you know, win another championship like that, because as a professional sportsman, you're doing the same championship over and over and over and over. Like, how do you
so it's a bit different for me now, isn't it?
Yeah. How do you re-motivate, especially if you've won it before or you've won it multiple times? Like, because goals, like, you almost never really tick a goal, or the goal is so brief, like actually achieving it's so brief, so it's like you've constantly got to move the goalposts on yourself.
Yeah, because you made a good point there, because I've never really thought about that, but that's obviously, that's something that motivates me. It's not a regular championship now, I'm coming back from an injury or whatever, so that is motivating. But then the other thing is too, like you just said, you never really tick your goals, because anyone who's at the top level of their sport, I guarantee you that even if they dominate a championship, they can think of
things they could have done
You've
better.
had Jett Lawrence on here giving himself a I think he gave himself an F or something.
Yeah,
for
it's
like,
just
no,
Supercross,
when he on the
yeah.
motocross, I think he still said, I think he used to gave him a B or something. And
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
like, you know what, he gave himself
Yeah.
an average scorecard. Like, and I'm sure even this year, say him, for example, he's fresh in everyone's mind. He's just dominated the first few rounds. We can't pick anything except for one rut he nearly bounced out of.
Yeah.
I guarantee you he doesn't, he's got something in his head that thought, okay, like, you know, if this happened, I might not have won, so I've got to be, you know, if he does that different next time, he might beat me there.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's probably something to it sort of to drive him to keep going.
Yeah.
Because even, you know, when I won championships before, I've definitely won them. I was the guy that deserved to win it, but you do think to yourself, oh yeah, that guy, he might not have had quite as good of, you know, such and such as me, or, you know, I had better preparation here than him. So imagine next year he might have that'll be better. That'll be cleaned up in his area. So yeah, I've got to make sure next year I beat him in that area.
Yeah.
That's my goal next year. Like, yeah, you're always moving the goalposts.
Well, and because I think that goals are weird in that the achievement of them, like let's say you win the achievement, it's such a weird timeline of how that even works, like how long that lasts. Like when when you win the championship, is it over the second after you cross the finish line?
Yeah.
And then like when did you win it? Or is it after the podium? And then once you've got your trophy on the podium and then you step down from the podium, like are you still completing your goal, or is it already in the past?
Yeah.
Like it lasts such a short period of time that you almost can't even pinpoint, like you can't even grab exactly when it is that you achieved it. And then I think that it's got to be built into just like human drive. Like that's what motivates it. If you could accomplish something and then be truly accomplished, then what's the incentive to ever do anything again? And so I think that like money's an easy analogy, is like once you go, oh, my goal's to make $10,000, and then you're like, okay, well, what's next? $100,000. Well, that's 10x the original goal. Like it doesn't make sense. And then $1 million, that's another 10x, and as you get to, you've got $999,000. You haven't hit $1 million yet, but you're already looking past it. So you're playing this constant like game with your goals. And I think that there's a book I talk about all the time, about Atomic Habits, and he'd talk about the guy the 8 people that sit on or stand on the starting line for the 100-meter final at the Olympics. They've all got the same goal, but only one person actually wins it. So what's your goal even mean? Yeah. You know, like there's only one dude there. They all had the same goal. Only one guy won. Yeah. And it's about like I think it's the people that find like those games to play within the goal itself. Like they're the ones that end up doing good. Yeah. Like the people that are like more devoted to the process. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I think that's where the goals are set for a lot of people, is in the process. Like for me, I know, because like you said, you always shift your goalposts if your goal is just to win all the time. Yeah. Well, Carmichael in 07, what year he won every race one year. Yeah. Like there's not many guys that get to do that. So if your goal is to win every time, you're going to be pretty down in the dumps a lot of the time. So I think a lot of them top athletes, they set goals inside the process. So like for me, first goal to finish the race. Yeah. That way I'm always achieving something. Yeah, yeah. And then that's not my only goal, but then your goals will lead to that championship. Yeah. But the actual championship might not be what the goal is, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I think that for me works. Set goals in the processes, and and then that it's not a goal, it's a bonus. Yeah. If you win the big prize. Yeah, it's almost like a byproduct. Yeah. Like you tick all these other boxes. There's obviously something with you where you're like, because you do the cycling, you got the your motocross, you got goals within that. Like there's obviously something about you where you just really like to put yourself out there, put up a challenge for yourself, and then actually you have like the dedication to stick to it. Like it seems like it's always been in your life. Yeah, it's like if you're going to do it, obsess over it and get into it. Yeah. Like, and unfortunately, that's good and bad. It really isn't it. Like, but yeah, right now it's like I'm obsessing over this motocross for a few months. Yeah, but I always align it with my racing. Like my main thing is racing my superbike. Yeah.
But the cycling in the past, it's like it fitted well. The Australian Championship was in January, so I'd have my off season. I enjoyed doing it, so I'd put my effort into that. I'd be all in at that, and then the moment that race finished, I'd park the bike for a few weeks and I'd back on the motorbike. And now we've got a chance to do an Australian motocross race, and I've done mountain biking in the past, and like, yeah, I like to pick something. But even honestly, when I got on the motocross bike for the first time in 6 or 7 years, this sounds stupid, but I was doing nationals before I rode that bike that day.
Yeah.
I just hadn't told someone out loud. I'm like, okay, what's going to get me to the track on this bike 3 or 4 times a week? Doing a club race or something is good, but like, I know if I'm going to do nationals, I need to take this pretty darn seriously.
Yeah, yeah.
So like, it was like, okay, I went to the track and I'm riding with a plan. And that's not to say I don't enjoy just riding. I do enjoy just riding, but I really enjoy having a bit of a purpose or achieving something out of the day.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm just going there with yourself and having a ride, that's all great. But if I'm going there on my own, in order to enjoy it, I generally look for something to do, whether it's working on something or having a goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's I can't remember the name of the book itself, but there's this part, it's called, you should always have a bag, BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal.
Yeah,
and
okay.
I thought it's actually kind of like made me really think about like the whole Dubai thing and like what I'm like trying to get going on. Because I was sitting there and I was reading and I'm like, oh, fuck, what's mine? Like, I don't even know that I have one at this point. Because you could say like, oh, we'll have the biggest podcast. But it's like, that's not really a fucking goal. Like, that's there's what metric would you actually go off?
Why am I taking this risk?
Yeah.
Is it for nothing or is there a goal? Like,
Yeah, and then that, I was like, it kind of made me think that at some point I always kind of have had like a goal. And I think about this when I was like doing, like competing in martial arts and shit. Like, there's no, for me at least anyway, like I was a different person training when I would have like an Australian title or a Queensland title or something coming up. Like, it forces you into a zone where, and I wonder whether it's like, for me, I think sometimes, I don't know if it'd be the same for you, but for me, it's like, I get so anxious about that thing, like whatever the goal is that I'm doing, that I almost like scare myself into performing.
And that's
in
the feeling you're after. For me, that's what I like.
Okay, so it feels like that for you too?
Yeah. I love the, bite off more than you can chew.
Yeah.
And and essentially paying respect to what you're going to be doing. Like, when you go to a martial arts tournament, like in a national championship, you don't just go there.
No.
That's disrespectful to the guys that are actual athletes. Like, so you don't want to go to a motocross race or a cycling event of a huge level just to do it. Like, that's sort of, I find that just to be a bit disrespectful. Just go and do a race at a club event if that's what your goal is. So I think that's why I try and take it as serious as I can anyway. Like, I'm not saying I train more or harder than everyone else, but I do obsess over whatever task is ahead. And hopefully when I finish racing, that's on a paying job. Yeah, but I think that's how some people tick. Yeah. They got to be all or nothing.
Yeah. So do you get like that level of anxiety around, like, so right now you've got the nationals kind of like in August and it's sort of hanging over your head a little bit. And like when you think about it, you're like getting a little bit of anxiety, like, fuck, I really need to run, I really need to ride, I really need to cycle.
Yeah, it's sort of like I've been through these processes a lot over the years. So for me, it's like, okay, I can't remember what the plan was, how many months it was, but it was just spend a month just riding. And then from sort of July, when we race at Morgan Park, I'll have 4 weeks or something, I think. I'm like, okay, that's when the anxiety might set in if I'm at the track and I'm seeing like 10 seconds a lap slower than Aaron Tanny or something, or 15 seconds a lap slower. Although, to be fair, I could probably afford to be that much slower and still be in the event because they're so fast, them guys. But yeah, I think I'll get to that last month and it'll be like, okay, I'm doing it. I've said I'm going to do it. And that's the other thing I like. You've got to own it.
Put it out there.
Yeah, if you're going to do something, you got to own it.
Yeah.
Like, there's no better way to do it is to own it. There's no failure. Like, I'm not going to fail at QMP. How am I going to fail? Like, who cares what happens to me out there? Like, but I think some people are scared to sort of
put themselves
out there, and that could be in anything really. Saying you're going to go and do an ocean swim out to Tuakar shore and back or whatever. Like, I don't know, something like that. Like, some people might want to do it, and they might go and do 1,200 metres of it and turn around and come back. And that's awesome. You've done 1,200 metres out and back. But they know they failed because they want to do 2K.
Yeah, yeah.
If they'd owned it, they might have got it done.
Yeah, there's a saying. Naval Robin-Kent, he does this podcast. It's called How to Get Rich, but it's like it's pretty. I'll actually send it to you. I send it to fucking everybody.
Yeah.
But it's like he sort of just talks about the more so like the mindset behind like being wealthy. It's not so much about like making money as it is like about a mindset that you should like have. Like, this is what successful people, have this mindset. But he basically says like society rewards you based on the amount of accountability that you take at something. And it's like essentially just another way of saying skin in the game. And it's like my life has got immeasurably better from doing this podcast, because as soon as I say I'm going to do something, like, I have to do it.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
There's not many things that I've said I'm going to do that I've like backed out of. And even I was thinking about today, me and Rones last year, I like packed up, put suspension in a bag, and we flew to WA because I said I'd race Manji.
Yeah. And you're probably halfway there.
Oh, the whole way there on the start line. But then at least you've done it, and like same world vets, like we've put it out there all year, like we're doing world vets. Fuck, I haven't run in my life, and I've probably run 100 Ks so far this year, and it's just that accountability of like, I've said I'm going to do this, and you've got this big, hairy, audacious goal like looming over you.
Yeah, and I think when you get to our age kind of thing, that's sort of, you start to get comfortable. Like, you could just go on doing whatever you want to do, and people around you have respect for you, and they know you're going to be okay, so that's fine. You say you're going to keep doing this podcast on a Tuesday for the rest of your life, cool, no worries.
Yeah.
But you might know inside yourself you're going to be better than that.
Yeah.
But because you're at a point now where people just trust you, okay, no worries. But you're not actually going to get better at that. You're probably going to get worse because you're not getting out there and exploring. And that's kind of where I'm at on the motorbike, I reckon. Yeah. It's been real easy for me the last few years because in my sport, in my championship, I'm well known now. I'm well respected. And if I say that, there's an issue with the bike, there's an issue with the bike. Or that's how fast this track is today, that's how fast this track is today.
Yeah, yeah.
Or is my body okay? Yeah, it's fine. No worries. And they believe me. No one's really saying, hey, you need to do this. And that's why I think the motocross thing, it's like putting me pretty far out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's keeping me that's got me back to a level. I mean, a lot of your guys probably don't follow, but I've gone from not winning since my accident, 8 to 10 weeks of motocross, perfect weekend.
Really?
Qualifying, fastest ever lap of the track, 2 race wins.
That's sick.
It's like, I'm not saying motocross is the only thing that changed. We developed the bike, and we've been looking like going better a lot over the last year, so it might be coincidence, but I've also stepped well outside my comfort zone in my training. I'm not just riding my push bike 500k a week like I always have.
Yeah.
And people will trust that's enough because
it's worked
people
in the past.
can't do that.
Yeah.
So they think, oh shit, that guy's amazing. He can do 500k a week. After 10 years of doing that, that's pretty easy for me. Like, I'm not saying cycling's easy, but that sort of training.
Yeah, yeah.
So putting myself out of my comfort zone, I think, is what's got me to a higher level. Maybe not even just the fundamentals of riding a motorcycle or a motocross bike, just being uncomfortable a lot, a few times a week.
Yeah.
Like when I go to a track out there and the pros are there, I'm just another guy getting his butt kicked. So
yeah,
I'm out there stretching it a lot. So I think, and I reckon that in life is what some people fall into the slump and some people keep challenging themselves.
Yeah.
I reckon that's where people keep achieving. Yeah. At our age, we're at that age. Yeah. How old are you?
35 in July.
Yeah, so I'm 36.
Yeah.
Probably at that stage where you got to keep taking the Glen Helen Vets Worlds and the Management trips, because if you don't put yourself out of your comfort zone, you might just...
Well, and there's a time, dude. There's a time where and I've been thinking about this a lot lately, but because I look at my dad, right? So my dad's 61, I think. Yeah, just turned 61. He's like, right now he's fucking on a bike, on a fucking, what's he got? The Africa Twin. And he's like riding out to Alice Springs to Fink with his mates. Like he rode Cape York with us last year. Yeah. But it's like getting harder on him, you know? And like I can see that there's this worry that's come over him in the last 12 months that like it's going to run out.
You're literally telling my dad's story.
Yeah.
Exact same.
Yeah.
Same bike and everything.
I think we're all going to be faced with that, you know? So like to me, it tells me two things. Get it in while you can and stay fucking fit and stay healthy.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, because at some point, like there ain't going to be another world. Like there's a last time that you'll do everything in your life. Yeah. There's a last time you'll breathe. There's a last time you'll pick up your daughter. There's a last time you'll kiss your wife goodbye. There's a fucking last time that you do every single thing. Yeah.
But a lot of people spend a lot of time saying they're getting to that point. Yeah. And like probably we're at that age too. Like, oh, geez, I'm hurting this morning. Yeah. I'm getting old. Yeah. Like, my dad's 63. 63, yeah. Yeah. He's an Africa Twin as well, but he just finished a 3-day trail ride in Dargo that he's been doing for 15 years, and he's like, it's my last one. And he's literally at that point where he can't enjoy it like he could. Yeah. But yeah, he's still putting himself out there, but
yeah. But that's, I guess, to me, like I'm very well aware nowadays. Yeah. That I think especially like seeing my dad going through it. My dad's still got years. Like he did stem cells on his knees. Like he thought he was done. He thought he'd never do Cape York again. Yeah. He got pumped full of stem cells and like fixed his knees. Not fixed, but got it to the point where he can do it. But yeah, it's like, man, you got to fucking get it while you can, because at some point, you know, you're just not going to be able to do it. And for me, like I'm scared of that. And I'm like, I don't want to, I want to be able to get to a point where I stop doing this shit and I'm like, right, I've had my fill. Yeah,
I've had enough of this.
Yeah. And like go out on my, I don't ever want to win. I don't want to win a race. I don't give a fuck about any of the accomplishments around it. I just want to be doing it. I want to be doing it with my mates, my family or whatever. Yeah. But it's like that, I think I'm realizing more than ever. And I think it's a reason to stay in shape. It's a reason to not get unhealthy. It's a reason to have a good diet. Like, and me and like my wife, we talk about all the time. Like, we look at the generation, like our parents' generation, and this is not talking about like my parents in particular, but let's just say like that generation. Yep. They didn't understand diet. They didn't understand exercise. They didn't understand so much of like what we have now gotten to consume with like the internet and media and. You know, like I'll exercise for like I don't see me stopping exercising. Yeah, and you know what I mean. Yeah. Whereas I think my dad's age, like when my dad was my age, like I remember him as that age, and he wasn't really exercise, like he wasn't training.
Yeah, he was probably an active person.
Yeah, he was active, but he wasn't training.
Yeah,
you know,
same with my dad. Yeah, and they didn't know any different.
Nah, exactly. Yeah. So now I think. Nowadays for us, like
we don't really have an excuse, do we, to not be healthy?
Nah, and I think we have. I guess it's just like a cultural thing, but then you look at Gawley, like that dude's my North Star, bro.
Oh man, he's Gawley, and he's been so good to me too, Gawley. Like
really,
so he had a hip replacement, I think 2 weeks before I broke my hip. Oh. And he lives 2K, 3K from home. He rang me and said, I've just done this. I was starting to get moving again. I was just going to his house. We'd go kayaking, doing exercises together. Like, he's just a machine. Lives...
Animal, eh?
Like, yeah. And just loves smashing up in the young blokes too. Like, just... Every session, if we're on that kayak getting towards the end and he sensed that I'm not enjoying it, he'll just start going faster. Like, even at his age, he's so competitive. And but yeah, super healthy. And that's where I actually met Kyle Webster. Oh, we talked about earlier. Kyle's a pretty strong athlete, like dude. Yeah, he was down for a few days, and he's a strong guy. But yeah, Gawley's like, imagine him these days if he was born in this era. Oh, like he was sort of a bit of a pioneer of that kind of thing, that the fitness side of racing. Like, there's so much out there for him now. He wouldn't have there would be no trial and error for him. He would
be a fucking animal.
He'd be a freak. Yeah.
Dude, there's a photo. I actually grew up in my house. So, because my dad raced back in the day.
Yeah.
So he raced with like Gawley and Leesky and all those guys. There's a photo and it's Gawley's in the middle. And then there's like my dad and there's a few, like maybe Peter Melton. Like there's a few kind of guys that was like my dad's crew when he was younger. Gawley just looks like fucking Zeus, bro. Like all the other boys are like, my dad's built like, he kind of built a lot like Matty.
Yeah.
And just like all these scrawny dudes around him and then just like an Adonis in the middle. It's like, he was always that guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he just must have been born with that. I mean, you've got to want to be that guy, don't you? It's hard to, if you're trying to be that fit all the time and it's got to be an effort, then you won't stay there. Like he's obviously enjoys the lifestyle he lives. Yeah.
I think that's the people that are like, you'd probably be able to talk to me with cycling about this, because I think until I've started doing jiu-jitsu, like I never really enjoyed training.
Yeah.
That like it was more of a thing that you should do if you wanted to be better at riding, but I never enjoyed training for like training's sake.
Yeah.
Whereas jiu-jitsu, it was kind of like you just got to go and like ride motos.
Yeah.
Every day, but then we were doing drilling and you could see how much better you could get with it. Kind of like,
and it probably transferred to motocross.
Oh, massively, yeah. But it wasn't until I started doing that I could. Now I run. You know, there's like things that I like doing. That is, I like doing weights. I like doing all that stuff. But I think that there's definitely like a tipping point, or there's a point you've got to get to where it's like just an everyday non-negotiable. I think that I feel like that could be developed or cultivated. Like if there's someone that's listening to this that like just doesn't exercise at all, like I really think it is possible to get to that stage where it's just you just do it every single day. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, because I definitely didn't. I was just an active kid that rode dirt bikes. I didn't train or anything, and then I sort of I don't know how I wasn't like a cyclist when I was a kid. I was 20 or something when I bought a bike, and I definitely didn't like training. I liked riding motorbikes, and that was it.
Yeah.
But same thing, I went to a local bunch ride and a local club race and got my butt kicked by a 60-year-old fella that had been riding all his life, and I was supposed to be a professional athlete. Like it's like, but then then little things trigger me. So you just got to find what triggers you, I guess. And then someone's like, okay, I want to be the best B grade cyclist in Goulburn.
Yeah.
And then you do that, then you go and do another race, and then from that on, then I 10 years later, I'm riding my push bike a lot because I do enjoy it. But yeah, that's the only. The cycling for me was not so much because it was going to make me a better motorbike rider. It's just I really enjoyed it. Same with you with the jiu-jitsu and motocross and stuff like that. Like if you're doing motocross a lot, it's still easy for you to train in jiu-jitsu because you love it.
Yeah.
So you just got to find, there's no one thing that's going to be good for your training or your general fitness more than others. It's just you got to find what you like. And as long as you're being active.
Well, and I think too there's something to, I didn't like running when I started running.
Yeah.
It was really hard. My legs really hurt. The next day when I woke up, it's like, man, I wouldn't be able to do today's run, and then you force yourself to, and then it's just like, you go, this is not sustainable with how much this shit hurts.
Yeah.
But then I think that there's a level of like, you can't find, there's like a threshold you have to cross to where you can find enjoyment. And then like with all the shit that's happened, like coming back to Oz, and then like I've been tied up recently, so it's like I'm fully off the wagon. Went for my run yesterday, and it's like one of those things where it's been like a monkey on my back. Like I need to go for a run. I'm like, fuck, it's cold. It's raining. It's dark.
And isn't it funny when you start losing your running fitness? It's like, I know I just need to go for a run. But every day you don't run, you don't want to do it more. It
just gets heavier and heavier and heavier.
I know I'm going to be a bit worse today. Oh no. It's like, all I've got to do is run. But my mind's telling me don't, because I'm not very good at it yet.
And then I went running yesterday. I was like, all right, I'm leaving work early before it's dark. I'm definitely going for a run. And I went running. I was like, the fuck have I been doing? I should have been doing this every day. Like, there's no excuse. I like this. Like, this is actually fun, And then even, I was thinking yesterday while I was running, because everything's, for most people, like, we're so fucking busy. Everyone's busy. Whether you're making 40 grand a year or 400 grand a year, you're pretty fucking busy.
Yeah.
You know, like you got to cook food, you got to clean your clothes, you got to go to work, you probably got a missus, you got some kids. Like everyone is super busy. And I was even thinking yesterday when I was running, like, I should be doing this just to get some alone time. Yeah. Like just some peace and quiet.
20 to 40 minutes a day.
Yeah.
And you get your heart rate up in the morning. It is the best way to function for the day.
Yeah.
Like, you're just so clear when you finish. That's why even, like, I haven't worked for years now, but with the cycling, I'm often going out. If I go for a ride, it's often in the 5:15 a.m. bunch.
Yeah.
In the dark. You finish at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the dark in the winter. And, like, why don't you just go at 9 o'clock when the sun's up?
Yeah.
But you like being with other people, socialising a bit. It ticks so many boxes, from physical health to mental health, everyday feeling. Like, it's just exercising just helps. Like,
yeah.
And people that say it doesn't, they probably haven't just taken the plunge and got into a bit of general exercise.
Yeah.
Some people just hate exercise, but I guarantee them people that hate exercise still feel better in the morning if they have exercised than if they haven't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's just a threshold, I think, that you've got to, because there's always that resistance, like that same resistance that I felt towards running in the beginning. I ended up just going and balling out on a pair of shoes that I could not wear for any other reason. They're like these brown Nikes with green, and like they're fucking weird.
I got
shoes.
the bad.
Yeah, I could never. I would never actually wear these things.
Yeah.
And it was like $350.
I reckon I've got the exact same shoes as you.
Are they like a tan kind of color?
Are they the really fast Nike Vapor, like the Nike run shoes, right?
Yeah, I'll send you a picture.
Vapor Flies or something they're called.
Yeah, I'll see if we're the same one. Yeah. But I was like, all right, I'm buying these because I'm not going to wear it for anything else. I'm going to like force myself into it. Because I was convinced, I'm like, my knees hurt from training, blah, blah, blah. Like, I got all these excuses not to run. But yeah, there's like a certain threshold of times that you do. I guarantee anyone, no matter how unfit or like base level that you are, if you committed to running for 2 weeks, you would be a completely different running version of yourself at that 2 weeks. And the other thing that stopped me as well, and this is what I struggle with, like with the jiu-jitsu stuff, is that you train, but then you don't want to be sore for moto. And I'm like, well, I'm doing world vets, and if I train on the night before I ride, I'm going to be sore, my grips will be sore, blah, blah, blah. So like there's all these kind of excuses that you kind of build in, but you've really only got to suffer through the first couple weeks of it. Yeah. And you come out on the other side, you know? Yeah.
And that's where planning's like, okay, you got your world's vets race, you'll taper off your jiu-jitsu there, but okay, I'm going to be 80% at motocross and jiu-jitsu for 6 weeks. Yeah. I'm going to put myself on a bunch of load, be really fatigued, probably have the shits at home, be tired a lot, and then I'll wean my way, and then I'll just wean my way off that. At some point, the greater the fatigue, the greater the fitness, I guess, the greater the form. Yeah, I think that it's like an old saying, but you just I'm the same because I love cycling and I love motorbike riding, and I race the superbike, and when there's a push bike and a motorbike race coming up, it's like, I want to be good at both, but you can't. Like, you just got to pick and choose your events, and then, sometimes you just got to be under a bit of fatigue in both of them, really, in order to be greater than later, or at your best, sorry. Yeah. Yeah.
So what's like a week of training look like for you? Or an ideal week? Yeah. Like, paint your perfect week of training.
These days, with kids, it's a lot different, but like, for years and years, it was just literally cycling every day.
Yeah.
If it wasn't and some days it'd be like 20 or 30k down the beach, and I mean, like, I could have been on the beach cruiser, just a full recovery ride. But yeah, a lot of hard rides. I'd do like 15 hours a week at least on the push bike, and then I would do home gym 2 or 3 times a week. And then I just live an active lifestyle. I'd be on the motorbike a fair bit, not that much. I used to be really cautious with the motocross and like do a few months of it, and then I'd taper off it, and sort of with injuries and stuff like that. But then as I've got older, I've realised that you can get injured no matter you ride it once a week or 5 times a week. But now it's like just go and ride the dirt bike when I can and ride the push bike when I can. But pretty much everything I do is with a purpose. Like the other day when I crashed at the QMP, I went there with an idea of doing a 20-minute warm-up and a couple of 20-minute motos with some, 2 laps on, 3 laps on, 1 lap off, kind of over... put the cycling philosophy and like do over-unders.
Oh, yeah.
Try and add a bit of intensity in, and then do another one where I did 3 times 8 and 2 minutes off and make it a 30-minute moto, and just try and have some structure so it feels like there's some purpose.
Yeah.
Because I feel like when I get home after that, okay, I've achieved, I've trained today. I didn't just go and ride my motorbike around a track for a random amount of time. Yeah. And then, or if I get in the push bike, I'll be, if you're stuck for time with the kids, you get on the trainer and just do warm up 5x5, so 5-minute max effort. A lot of interval stuff, really. Yeah. But I've focused all my training on having a really good aerobic capacity. Yeah. So not a lot of strength work. Like I'm a pretty tall guy. Weight's an issue with road bikes because I'm tall. I stay as lean as possible, and I've always had a strong core and a good aerobic base, but I've never been a brutally strong athlete, as in lifting, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but you probably just don't really need to be.
You don't need to be, and I shouldn't say that because I've never been brutally strong, but yeah, I've been in the gym with other riders, and they can lift 2.5 times what I can. They also get arm pump just like I do as well, and they get tired if they override in the start of the moto. So I think if you got a strong core, a good aerobic base, and you're comfortable on a bike, that's where people are strong. Look at Jett Lawrence, like he's still young, like essentially in the big scheme of things. He's still going to grow as an athlete and a human, but he's not a massive strong lad, but he looks so strong on that bike.
Well, I think with him, you said core, like I think that's probably the thing that I'm going to really try and work on between now and World Vets. Yeah. Because you look at Jett when he rides, his posture. Yeah. His posture never changes. Like even how fucking back his neck is, like he's just in a perfect rectangle at all times. And I feel like that's just got to be such a huge advantage for him. Like you can see it when he rides, he doesn't break posture. Yeah. Well,
you look at your lower, say you stand for 25 minutes with your lower back arched, holding some weights, your lower back's going to start to fatigue a lot. Yeah. I mean, obviously, for him, his lower back's not really... It's copying in other areas, but I think overall, his body looks like it's in a very efficient position. Yeah. He's obviously got a lot of... I'd say he's pretty flexible by the way he rides. Like, my lower back wouldn't get to that position. I can barely touch my toes. So like for me to ride in that position... my hamstrings are going to be quite tight. Yeah. But, But the other thing is too, because he's the man at the moment, it's like, okay, we need to have straight back. It's like I'm not saying he does have a really good style, and maybe that is the way he should ride a bike. But 10 years ago, there have been things that Carmichael done, and before that, and before and after that, we would have thought, that's how you got to do that. Yeah. Well, I think in motocross, we're entering the era of like being an athlete, because I would say Jett is extremely athletic. Yeah, for sure. Like the way that, again, I'm basing that off like maintaining athletic posture during an extremely athletic activity. Yeah. You can see other guys that are fucking, getting thrown around. Fatiguing. Yeah. So I think like athleticism and technique. Yeah. And I think that's why you're seeing him come into the 450 class and just obliterate everybody. And I don't think that they're going to be able to... Then people aren't going to be able to bridge that gap. Like, there's going to be, like, what, maybe Haiden Deegan? Like, maybe he's the guy that can come along after a few years in the 250 class. Jett's going to be a little bit old. Like, maybe he's the dude that can do it. But I just can't really see people being able to catch up to that. Like, that it's years and years and years and years of foundational technical work that's allowed him, and I think that it's at the exact right time where the 450s are as gnarly as they are too. You know, like on it, and you can see on a 250 the difference wasn't as drastic. Like there's people that could beat him
on a 250 because there's like a way that like you can max one of those bikes out essentially.
Yeah.
Like no one's maxing out a 450, and then you get the tracks that get as rough as they do, and there's only a certain speed that you can ride. It's like everything has funneled into no one beating him for a fucking long time.
Yeah, I agree. I know it's like, I don't want to speak about how good the next guys will be, but definitely right now, speaking of just Jett, and not saying he's going to dominate forever, but like just the way he is, it's like I've sort of been waiting for an athlete like that. Like there's always flaws. They're super talented and they don't work, or they work really hard but they lack a bit of raw speed, or like they got a big mouth on them. Or, this kid's like, he's just dealing with that pressure, but also looking like he's having fun. It's like where there's no like.
What's the
when you're racing against him right now? Okay, how can we get under his skin and what can we do to put him off his game? Well, he's a pretty cool kid. Like it's hard to know what's going to put him out. Like I reckon you could run into the side of him and he would not care. He'd keep riding. You could heckle him like crazy. He'd laugh it off. He doesn't seem to.
Yeah, you can't rattle him.
It'd be hard to rattle him. Like it's pretty impressive, really. Like to see how sort of comfortable he is just to be.
Yeah.
Essentially on for a perfect year and not even really flinch at it. Like,
well, dude, so
I shouldn't say that so early, but yeah.
Well,
you got to say it, but he just looks that good.
Yeah, well, I was talking to Danny Rick after Parla, and I'm like, all right, what'd you think? And his take is, I love his take because he's such a super fan of the sport. He never misses a moto. But he comes from like the most high pressure
cooker,
cutthroat. Like he knows pressure better than maybe 99.9% of athletes that have ever existed.
Exactly.
Like even my wife, Jack got 5th doing in F2 on the weekend, and she's like, "Oh, 5th's awesome." And I'm like, 5th fucking sucks. You know why 5th sucks? Because there's only 20 spots in F1. So if you got 5th in F2, like we're not even in the same conversation.
Yeah.
So that's like the gnarliness that dude has had to deal with.
Yeah.
And what he said about Jett was, bro, to that pressure at 19, he goes, that's hectic.
Yeah. Race 2 at Parla was like, that was pressure.
Yeah.
Like that's your teammate for one.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. It's just, and he didn't even look like, he just looked like, we'll never know, but could he have gone 5 seconds a lap faster? Not that much, but could he have gone faster? Probably.
Yeah. But
he just looked like he controlled it so easily. Like, yeah.
Dude, the thing that I say that Moto 2 at Parla is way more high level than maybe most people would give him credit for, right? Like, so you've got this beat to shit track gone.
Yeah.
There's a certain speed that you could go on that the track would give you. And I think that's probably maybe a similar situation in road racing where there's only so much grip when it comes to temp, tire temp, like track temp.
Yeah.
There's like a window, like you could see it at was it Jerez this year where like there was some practice sessions where the times were just getting pumped because it was on. You know, the tires were up, the track was gripped up, everything was right. So Parla Moto 2 was one of those conditions where it's like you've just only got so much speed. And so what does Jett do? Just rides every inside.
Yeah.
Does it to the speed that's comfortable for the track to do it. And he just knows that Sexton can't touch him.
Yeah.
He's like, if I stay this speed and ride these inside lines, it's going to force Chase to go outside, which because you're riding a longer distance, you need to ride faster.
Yeah.
But you can't ride faster because this is how fast the track... So he literally just dictated how that race went down at 19 in the second moto of your 450 debut to go 1-1.
It's like, it was so impressive. It's like just... And because the track, there was so easy to make a mistake in that track. It looked quite slick, really. Like there were so many things that could go wrong. Yeah. And then you can't say, I know people say, oh, that guy doesn't feel nerves, but everyone feels nerves. And that guy, he's been waiting for that race for a long time. When he seen Sexton was behind him, I'm telling you, he was definitely nervous.
Yeah.
So like the fact that the nerves are probably at an all-time high, and he just looks like he's out on a trail ride. There was no urgency. Like, he just done his job, which is what you do when you're 5 times champion and a veteran in the sport. He just sort of done it. It's like, yeah, it's pretty crazy.
I wonder if we have like a new problem though when it comes to Jett. Like, is it good for the sport for him to be this good? Like, does it create do we now have a problem?
Yeah, but then you never know, do you? Like, that's why I don't like talking about the up and comers, and you just never know what's around the corner. Like, you know, before Jett was coming, you know, we thought the current crop was the best, and then now Jett's here, and then all of a sudden someone will be doing something, and you'll say, oh, this guy's amazing.
Yeah.
So I don't think we're going to see, like, I think Jett's definitely, as long as he wants to be the man, he's probably going to be the man. But it's just crazy. It's just crazy how fast they're going, really. And it's not until when you're riding a dirt bike, you realise that, like, I bet you rocked up the QMP last week thinking, after watching Jett, you're like, I'm going to be faster today. I rocked up thinking, I'm going to be so much faster. I'm going to stand up everywhere. My back's going to be so straight. I'm going to just jump over every braking bump. Then all of a sudden I'm frisbeeing through the
air. Cartwheel on first lap.
Yeah,
man, it's I wonder what it's gonna be like for that, because even like Roan's come in and he's like, oh, did you watch the motocross? I'm like, yeah, I watched every moto. He's like, I didn't bother watching it. Like,
yeah, he smoked
round 2 and he's just like, well, I already know what's gonna happen, so fucking what's the point?
Yeah.
But I feel like I was watching the Deegan's video from Parlour.
Yeah.
And because obviously it's just like, it's all footage of Haiden riding.
Yeah.
Because I've watched him from like after Jett's performance, I was like, okay, I want to watch Haiden like I watched Jett.
Yeah.
And just to, like, how good's the technique? How good is... Because even like the press day footage from Parlour, all that press day stuff was coming out.
Yeah.
And like,
so good.
You hear the way, like... The bike is just like in the fucking meat.
Yeah, singing.
But it's not revving.
Yeah.
And it's not lugging.
Yeah.
It's right there.
You start questioning, is my bike the same as that?
Yeah. But even, you know, like Cody Cooper is the perfect... He's another one where he gets something like out of his bike that's so different. Yeah. But I was like, man, I've never even heard anyone ride a 450 like that. Yeah. And I think it's harder to tell in this era with like the 4-stroke era. Like 2 strokes, it's just the thing's singing the whole time. Like it's pretty easy to kind of tell. Yeah. Whereas with the 450s especially, but like you could like hear it. But I went back and I was like, all right, I'm gonna watch Haiden with these eyes. Like look for these things. And I mean, technically he's doing some super cool shit on that bike as well. And you know, so I'm like, I don't know. I'm just praying that Haiden can be like Jett, you know? And it's like, he's probably a year behind Jett, but it's like, let's say give him 3 years. Yeah. Jett will be 22.
Yeah, still super
like,
young.
what the fuck?
Yeah, but I think we've spoken about this at the track that Haiden Deegan's got like a higher threshold of pressure, pressure threshold.
Yeah.
He's just been born into a family that just do high pressure stuff and stuff at a higher media level, and he's been around all that stuff. Like when you're a country kid coming to AMA Supercross and Motocross and you get in a factory ride, it's a huge deal.
Yeah.
It's not saying it's not a big deal for him, but it's just not any different to the way he's lived his whole life. So his pressure threshold is just naturally high.
Yeah.
So that's one thing he's going to have. He's just got to work on speed and consistency because he's probably going to deal with the pressure better than most, I imagine.
Yeah.
That's the way it feels anyway. He just isn't flustered by anything. Even the questions in the media, he's pretty cool and calm, and yeah, it's pretty funny actually. We've got a pretty good few years ahead of us with them two racing each other.
Oh, definitely. And it's like, I'd say there's a difference between, so like getting a whole shot on a motocross bike. There's a real big difference between hoping you can and knowing you can.
Yeah.
Like to have an expectation, like a Michael Lessie. He literally went to the line every single time expecting to get the whole shot. And what did he do? He got a lot of whole shots.
Yeah.
And I think that, it's right what you're saying. Like Hayden's grown up in such a crazy different... It's like... obscure reference, but it's like Kylie Jenner.
Exactly.
It's like you're the sister of Kim Kardashian. Yeah. Of course you're going to be famous. Of course you're going to be a billionaire. Just like come up with some shit that would sell, and then you sell that thing, and then you'll be rich.
Exactly.
Like you'll be. There's like a rite of passage, or like an expectation. Like you were a kid believing you could be a road racer, but not expecting. Like how different is it? And I was saying to you the track the other day, but I think it's like a cool thing that you give credit to Brian and Marissa, is that they allowed that kid to believe in himself. Yeah,
whatever he
fully
wanted to do. Yeah.
Just, bro, you want to do this? I'll fucking got you, bro. I'll build you. You want to do a backflip? All right, bro, let's do it. Yeah. And people, the other side of the coin would say like, oh yeah, they just love doing that shit for YouTube. No, that's just a cool dad.
Yeah.
That's like down to believe in his kid and be like, hey man, if you think you can do it, I'll help you do it.
Yeah.
And imagine growing up and being, because like I didn't have that as a kid. You know, like, and it wasn't, not that my dad's a fucking asshole, but it's like, that's not normal.
No,
like, it's not normal.
That's right. And that's why he's the way he is.
Yeah,
He's just grown up like that.
Yeah. So this crazy expectation of like, this is who I will be. And then all you've got to do then is just live it, like walk it, you know?
Yeah. And there seems to be a lot of want in him. So that's a bonus, because you've got to want it. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter how talented or how good your parts are. If you don't want to be good, you won't quite be the extra bit. But he seems to really, really, really want to be good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy for Australians to be getting a second go at sort of a second Chad Reed, really. Well, probably might have two of them. Hunter's still, like, Hunter's winning the championship. He's,
Jett ruins Chad. Chad will probably, I wonder how Chad feels about it. It's probably a little bit of him that's he probably wanted to be the best Aussie dude forever. But I feel like Jett is going to like completely ruin that whole thing.
As in records and race wins. And
he'll be the man from Oz.
He's definitely, you just never know. But I
guess true.
He's definitely got potential to win a hell of a lot. Yeah. But then, guys like Chad, same. I think we spoke about it before. He was sort of the first guy over there doing it for Australians, and and he's created that pathway. It seems doable now.
Yeah.
So for that reason, you sort of can't take that away from him, because.
Well, I was going to say, there should be a better Chad Reed. Like, it would actually be a shame.
He's paved a way
for
us to go over there. So, Yeah, you sort of, it's hard to compare. It's fun, isn't it? It's fun to compare Jett Lawrence and Chad Reed. Like, imagine them racing each other, but you sort of can't really. Like, it's just so different.
Yeah. Oh, crazy. Yeah. Like, and for Chad, you think about the differences. So yeah, I guess like probably sounds bad to Chad to say that, but like his record should not stand. You know, like you would hope as an Australian that there would be better guys. You know.
Yeah, for sure.
But you think about, all right, let's compare Chad and Jett for a second. What Chad did was insanely special because he did it by himself.
Yeah.
Like literally just him and Ellie packed up, went to Europe and did everything completely on their own. And, you know, Jett, Dazzy, Emma, Hunter, Tate, all of them.
Yeah.
They all shipped the whole... So it was like a whole team was dedicated to those two boys.
Yeah.
Chad doing it completely on his own is like unheard of.
Yeah. He's getting in the car and putting the nav man where he's got to go, and he's working over where he's going to eat dinner and stay that weekend. And
Tom's in German at that point.
Exactly. Yeah. Like it's definitely, that's why you can't really just look at just the results, can you? Because it's like it's the path he's created for the rest of Australia, all us Australians really.
Yeah.
Over there. But you got it. Jett's just he's ticking all the boxes. Like,
And I think what you said before about the scary thing is like, he is the full package.
Yeah.
And he's probably the most marketable dude we've ever had.
Yeah.
As well, like since McGrath, easily. You know, like he's already got like the donut franchise. Like he's a super good looking dude. Like that's his only pathway to get in trouble.
Yeah.
Is it? He's just too good looking.
Yeah, that's right.
You're too hot for this sport, bro.
Exactly, yeah. He'll end up bigger than the sport, maybe.
But we kind of almost need that. Like, I think I really feel like, especially being in this for so long, like doing this particular, doing the podcast for 5 years, like,
yeah,
I've seen the growth. Like, I've seen this year, especially in Supercross, felt like a bit of a level up. Like the broadcast, the crowds,
yeah.
Even the views online. There's so many. Before it was really just us posting shit. Like there was us and Pulpamex, and like we were the first ones to like really start posting every day about Supercross, no matter what.
Yeah. And
it's like the sport's now got to this point, and we need a dude that's bigger than the sport to kind of like drag it in. Valentino did it. For
exactly,
you know, for MotoGP, obviously F1's had their stars over the year that have done it, but like David Beckham, you know, not that he made soccer bigger, but you know, you kind of get these guys that they like
become bigger than the sport in a way.
Yeah, and I think that we're pretty ready for that now, I reckon.
Yeah, that sport's like Supercross is just so ready for it. I think it was a podcast the other day. It might have been Adam Cincerella or something talking about like paychecks and sign-ons and stuff like that. Needs to be. It's sort of like a bit of a secret between motorcycle races. Like, what job do you go to where they disclose their hourly rate or their salary? It's like, oh, I'm on this much. I'm on this much. Yeah. It's like the sport kind of needs to hear that kind of stuff. Like, oh yeah, like he was saying, Roxon signed a multi-year Honda deal worth X amount. Like, that's never really reported on in Supercross, or like, but it is big enough where they could be reporting on that. Like, and that's like, because in basketball and football, it's always reported on. Yeah. And it sort of just makes you think, holy hell, this sport's way bigger than I thought. I completely agree. And like, you can watch a dude, you can not give a fuck about golf at all. And then when it's the last hole of the last hole, you go to a playoff. And there's two dudes. You don't need to know shit about golf. If there's a shitload of money on the line, that there's a 3-foot putt for $23 million. You go, holy fuck! And like, if he drops that putt, your heart sinks. Yeah. Or like, knowing you get excited. And then if he misses that putt, you're like, oh, bro. Like, you know, you've never even seen $23 million in your life. Exactly. So people want to say, like, I get the one argument as like, oh, it's nobody else's business, blah, blah, blah. I get that. Yeah. But then also I think it does transcend the sport a little bit. Like if, you know, your wife goes like, wow, this race is worth, like, you just won $100,000 for this, or like, be open, be upfront, talk about, like, that's the metric that's relatable. Like, racing Supercross is not relatable for me, but $100,000, like, I know what $100,000 is, like, that to me is relatable. The average person that doesn't know Supercross will see it and see that it's worth that much money. Oh, they must be good. I'll watch that. Well, no one, I think the other thing too is, like, so the counterfactual is, you're at a bar with your mates, Supercross is on TV, and then he asks you like, oh, what did that guy make a year? And then you're like, oh, a couple $100,000. You're like, a sports shit. Exactly. You know what I mean? So it's just like this social proof, whereas you know, like, you can say like, oh, I think there's rumoured that Ferrari's going to offer Hamilton $75 million to go to Ferrari. And it's just that's like... crazy. That's fucking crazy. Yeah, exactly. Like, that's crazy. And it's interesting in that sense, you know? Yeah, anyone can relate to, that thing, Yeah, so how much money? Not enough, mate. Not enough. So what's the rest of the year looking like for you? You got the rest of the Superbike Championship? Yep, got the Superbike Championship, and I'll do the QMP National. Yeah. So that's it. Stamped. That's it. Yeah, I want to do it. Yeah. So I haven't spoken about it like no one this really. To this so anyway. Yeah, no one listens. Yeah, I'm pretty much in now. So but yeah, I just want to try and win a championship again. Yeah. So all in as a Superbike rider. When was the last one you won? 18, okay. So a couple years between drinks. Yeah. It's been close, but... Yeah, I was 1 point off the year after, and then the COVID years I was good enough to challenge for it. And then last year I was terrible, but I was fairly banged up last year. So last year was the first year out of the whole time that I haven't been good enough to challenge for a championship. So that's something I can take from my Australian racing career. But try and win another championship, and then I think only a few people have won 3 in our country, so maybe I've got a couple more in me. I'm only young, 36, so try and keep pushing on.
And because the level's pretty high in the Australian Superbike Championship, like there's some really legit dudes that are racing that series now.
Yeah, I think it's pretty high, and I think like Jack's helped us there. He's come back and he's brought some friends back, and a couple of young guys have raced with us as well that are on the way overseas. And I think the levels, it's good enough to where if you're a young kid and you're winning or challenging Australian Superbike races, you can confidently go overseas and be pretty competitive. So but it's unfortunately at the moment all the young kids they have to leave straight away. You've sort of got no choice these days, do you? Yeah, you've got to be on the front foot and into that European circle at a young age. Yeah,
man, so much props to Harry Voigt, eh?
Yeah, and what a good kid too,
dude. The fucking coolest kid. Like what him and his family have gone through to give him like that pathway, and what personally he's gone through with like injuries and crashes, and I hope so much that he's one of the kids that makes it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, him and another kid, Centre Aegis. He was my teammate last year for a round. Yeah. Him and Harry are racing together this year, so I think them two are like two really big talents we've got. So yeah, hopefully I've got the next Australian Jett Lawrence of road, really, but you just don't know yet. It's like I've stopped trying to be a talent scout because I'm pretty terrible at that, but I definitely think they're pretty good.
There's just so much shit that's got to go right,
isn't there? Yeah.
You know, like it, and it's not. It's like there's so much that's got to go right, but there's also so much that like has to not go wrong.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, so like you've got, and they're different things.
Yeah.
Like just the most average mundane shit has to go right for you to even, get there. Like one injury at the wrong time. Like it's just, you're on such a razor thin level at that, like to get to that level,
Yeah, that's right.
And also, actually, shout out to Kruz Maddison. He's, can you go to Kruz's Instagram? Robbie Madison's kid. Have you followed him on Instagram?
I don't. The kid or Robbie? I follow Robbie, I think.
Yeah, so his kid Kruz, his eldest kid, is like going full road race. And
really?
He won a
that's what he wants to do, is it?
KRUZ, I think. Yeah, he's racing like
the Ovalis.
Yeah, dude. So he won. Play that shit. He fucking looks good.
I'm embarrassed I haven't seen this.
Yeah, dude. He's such a legend. Yeah, so he's doing some like Moto America stuff.
Okay.
But I think he won his
So that's cool. See what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Kids are going to see that like, I want to be a road racer.
Yeah, he's actually starting to make it cool.
That's a shoey.
Yeah, look at him go, dude.
How good.
What a fucking legend. So yeah, he's fully, so go to that post, we'll see what one it is. So this happened today, won my first race in my first weekend ever racing at Moto America. Yeah, so it's on YouTube. But yeah, so they went there like, Robbie was telling me the story, but it was at my buck, so I was a little bit. I wasn't listening.
I wouldn't expect you to remember that.
I wasn't listening all the way, but they basically they got a bike. That bike wasn't ready, so then they had to drive. They had like a box van, kind of deal.
Full racer dad spec for the weekend.
Drive to another place, pick up another bike. Kruz hadn't even rode it, didn't even know how to start it, and then I think he got like 6 in like the first one, and then he went out and won the next one. So he's like, they're fully, I think he like wants to
road racer.
Yeah, wants to do it. So
that's cool.
Yeah, hopefully there's some more young talent.
It must be getting cool for kids because his dad's as cool as it gets.
Yeah, I think it is getting cooler though.
Yeah,
like even for me, I want to watch the MotoGP more than I ever have.
Yeah, me too.
You know, like I just think, I wonder what it is. I think there's just good characters. Like
they're putting an effort into. There's a lot of different characters.
Yeah,
yeah. It is exciting. Them guys are all different, and they're sort of almost allowing them to be
themselves,
real people.
Yeah,
which there was a couple of years there where either they didn't believe they could be, or that isn't how they want to be perceived or whatever. But now it seems like we see Jack Miller and we see how they really are.
Yeah.
So that makes it heaps more fun to watch.
Oh man, I couldn't agree more. And I remember like years ago when Jack first did the podcast.
Yeah.
He was the public perception of him was so different, and it was almost like people looked at it as a negative light that he was the character that he was. But in the last few years, that's just flipped completely.
Yeah.
Then it's like they're celebrating his style, and it's like, duh.
Yeah, I think in the early years it's easy to say, oh, he's not trying hard.
Yeah.
He's not trying.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, but now he's obviously proved he works hard. He's there doing it. He's on the best teams.
Yeah.
Oh, and he's actually just a normal bloke.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that level is so high in that championship as well.
Yeah.
That, like, we were talking about this the other day at QOP, like, they just have to fucking send it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there's zero... I would not be comfortable, obviously me, but, like, let's say I'm one of them. I'd be shitting myself every race.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I don't know how long these tyres are going to last, and these motherfuckers are going to be sending it to the moon every single lap of every single race. Now they've got a sprint race where, like, you're supposed to send it
That is the most
time.
exciting race of the year.
Insane,
I love getting up early in the morning to watch that race. It's so good. But yeah, I think the bikes are just so good, and they're just all, they're so, that amount of downforce they've got now, and like the amount of grip they've got, it's just all going good until it doesn't. I think, I imagine that the more downforce and the more grip you got, the less feel you might have, I would imagine. So the bikes aren't moving as much.
Yeah.
It's probably like riding a cycling bike with a skinny tyre on it. You don't know you're going to crash that bike till it's gone.
Yeah.
If you ride a mountain bike, they're moving all the time because they're soft and they're big. That's what I think it's like for them. The more downforce and the more grip they've got, the carbon brakes, all that kind of stuff, like it must just take a little bit of feel away because it's all going right, and then all of a sudden, oh, he's down. It's like, oh no, what happened there?
Yeah.
And then they go and talk about it. They don't know why they crash half the time.
Yeah.
Like it's such a cutthroat sport.
Do you think that we should move more into like the aero and that sort of stuff, or do you think we should kind of strip it back a little bit more?
I don't think there should be aero in MotoGP.
Yeah.
I think that's a car thing.
Yeah.
And I think that motorcycles are made to move around and because it just opens up a whole new can of worms. Like that aero, like they're not even close to the tip of the iceberg aero. Like, it's going to go crazy.
One, yeah.
So like, I don't know, take it out. Like, yeah, electronics and stuff. I'm happy with that because you still got to be a good motorbike rider to ride a bike with electronics.
Yeah, that lean like through turns and to carry that corner speed. There's no electronics are doing that for you.
Yeah, you've still got to be a good motorbike rider. But then when you throw in the aero stuff, it's like that's going to bring the risk up a lot, and it's also going to make it hard to pass because I imagine the more aero you got, the less you want to follow. So the closer, the further away you have to be to get the downforce to turn the bike, and all that kind of stuff is going to create racing that's not quite as close. Maybe. Yeah. That's just my personal opinion, but I've never even sat on a GP bike, so I've got no right to even give my opinion. But yeah, that's just what I think watching it.
Yeah, and it makes sense. And like, when do you ever hear them talk about like, he doesn't want to be followed, it's going to cook his tyres? Yeah. Like, it's a little bit, but not now. Like, pretty much that's why, like, Jack in the, I think it was the Jerez sprint race, like, he was like, I'm getting out front. Yeah, like, because
has to be in the front.
I can't sit behind with the aero that these bikes have cooking my front tyre. Yeah. And it's like those variables, they're just, especially when you can't do pit stops, you can't change tyre. I think where the cars get away from it is you can force mandatory pit stops. You can force them to change compounds. You can, give them the two on the same, weekend. Strategy comes into play. But I think for the MotoGP stuff, like, you're just sort of a sitting duck out there at a point, And like, when the I don't know that that's where we want to go. No, you want the racing to be close. That's what motorcycle racing is fun to watch because it's so close and you can touch bars and get away with it. Car racing,
it does have that aspect. It seems it's been that way for years, I guess, with the aero and the Formula One. Formula One racing is different to MotoGP. It's just different.
Yeah.
But yeah, it seems MotoGP is sort of going that way. As such, yeah, it's a big discussion. Really, it's a discussion from another time. Really,
Yeah.
you're going for hours about it.
Yeah. Is the racing closer in World Superbike? Do you think?
Not at the moment, but you would think technically it should be.
Yeah. Because I'm thinking it's like kind of the opposite.
Yeah, it's the opposite. It's World Superbike at the moment. In my opinion, they're struggling a little bit because it's really dominant to one team. And
who is dominant there?
About Alvaro Bautista.
Yeah,
I think he's only lost one race.
What's he on at the moment?
He's on a Ducati.
Yeah.
And he's going real well. And in saying that, there's other Ducatis out there, so yeah, he is doing really well. He's dominating. So
yeah.
Whereas GP, there's nothing like that.
Seems like no one wants to win a race.
No, you wouldn't want to be the guy doing the sports fed apps on MotoGP, would you?
Dude, is there betting on sports?
Yeah, there is.
Fucking good luck.
I used to dabble when it rains, but even you just can't pick someone anymore.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So stay clear of that.
Yeah. Well, hey mate, we'll wrap this thing up.
Yeah.
Stoked. You out to QMP on Thursday?
No, I've got to go to Melbourne on Thursday, but
fuck.
Yeah, I'm spewing.
Cancel it.
Yeah, I want to cancel.
I don't have anyone to ride with on Thursday. Maddie's at Fink.
Yeah, okay.
Got no other mates.
Let's keep in touch for Thursdays because I need to lock it in most Thursdays.
Yeah.
Got to get fit and fast.
Sounds good, mate. Well, I'm excited for you. Thanks for making the time. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you having me. It's been good.
No, it's always a good chat. So
yeah,
thanks very much, mate.
Take care, mate.
We are excited to announce the launch of our new membership site, gypsytales.com, packed with exclusive content and perks that you won't find anywhere else. This is your chance to become a part of the Gypsy Gang. And as a special bonus, if you sign up to an annual membership, you'll be entered into the draw to win our custom-built TC125. Gypsy Gang.